What up, folks? Here we got another episode of Ignorant Bliss. This time I'm talking to my friend David Brothers. You might know him from, the internets. He had this great blog called Fourth Letter. He has his own site, iamdavidbrothers.com. And he works for Image. He's a content manager at Image. He's been there for a little while now. I met him years ago in the con circuit. We bonded over Jubilee. And, we've been chilling cool ever since. You know what I'm saying? He's over here on the West Coast. Oakland, California, the Bay. And I hope you enjoy the episode. I'll put links and stuff if you can. Retweet, post at Julian Lytle, Lytle, on those social media sites. If you want, you can go on iTunes and leave a review or whatever. If you don't have to. I'll probably also put this on SoundCloud too. Again, you know my name. Get at it.
Watch out for the riders. Keep an eye out for the guys.
How's it going over there in Oak Town?
It's crazy, man, but the weather's nice, so that's what I'm focusing on.
Oh, okay.
I saw that Furious 7 last night, and it was tight.
Furious 7, well, what's that about?
The Fast and the Furious 7?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Fast and Furious. Yeah, Furious 7 Life.
Yeah.
Woo. I love that movie.
Yeah, man, it's all good. I'm doing C2E2 next weekend, and I did Emerald City and WonderCon back to back, so I'm just sleeping all the time.
Dang, man, your con hustle is so crazy.
Yeah.
Being the masters of ceremonies, the image panels, man.
It's fun. It gets tiring, but it's a trip at the same time.
All that flying, bro. All that flying or movies traveling around.
I'm still nervous on airplanes. I can't lie.
Yo, it's I've only started flying since I've been going to cons, and it never stops being weird.
Yeah. I'm always listening extra hard, just in case I can hear something going wrong, even though that's absurd.
Hey, I don't know, man. They got people in Europe crashing planes. I just want to make sure. I just want to be prepared when I'm on a plane.
Yeah, I want to meet the pilot, just in case.
It makes sense why John Madden is yo, let me get that bus.
Yeah. Man.
So,
but what'd you want to get into? I
guess, just talk about things. I haven't actually talked to you in a while in person because I haven't been in any cons or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I haven't been getting approved. I didn't get approved for anything last year. I didn't get approved for tables for anything last year. So,
are they all run by the same company?
Different ones. It was surprising I didn't get into any of the Reed ones though, because I got into every single New York Comic Con from the jump, and then all of a sudden, I'm not cool anymore or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
Yeah, I guess it just got to a point where this year I was just I'm just going to take off on purpose. Maybe comics don't really like me no more or something. So I just chill.
Yeah. How does that feel though? Are you okay with that? Decision, that feeling?
What about just taking a chill break or just the whole feeling that comics don't like me?
The chill break.
It feels all right because actually I haven't felt like drawing in a little while. Life stuff, the news.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate.
Personal interactions, ladies, and you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, that whole, the Marvel thing with the Run the Jewels clothes, it still bothers me. It still bothers me. It's always in the background.
No, that makes sense. And I can't blame you at all because I really feel like that's a bite.
I just don't see how it's not. It gets to a point where it's I can't see how it's not a bite.
Yeah.
Like the concept, like the whole thing is a bike. They wasn't really doing that before.
Yeah.
Or they did as a joke, because for some reason MC Hammer's a joke. You know?
Yeah.
But
it's like the disrespect that comes from not being in the culture is kind of killer sometimes.
yeah, it's just, it'll be something that they did it more often.
Mm-hmm.
But to act like all this is brand new when, like, the first public rap song ever had, like, an entire verse about Superman.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, and, like now you putting up pictures of Method Man on your Instagram talking about he's a Ghost Rider fan. Like, he's been calling himself Johnny Blaze for 20 years.
Yeah, that's, and like Brandon Graham likes to talk about how, like, rap has been very good to comics, but comics has not been anything to rap.
It's
true. Just through neglect. And, like, I feel like he's 100% right, but it's so depressing because I'm into both. Like, I grew up on both. And I think that me and you were in the same boat where they both had, like, a similar effect on our lives. Like, they matter in a way a lot of things don't.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just can't get any love for rap and black culture and comics.
And it's like,
it's not sustainable.
It's like at all. It just seems like it's funny because I think some of the most diehard, most true believing fans have been like people in the hood.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't get, like, they latch on to, like, the little bits, but they're never.
Yeah, I always call them, like, caveat comics, because you gotta, like, include a caveat when you recommend them. To where, like, this is really good, except for this part.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer to just kind of be under that for so long.
It's like, it's weird that, like, none of the black characters get to a point where they feel black.
Yeah.
Like, none of the Latino characters feel really seriously like Latino. Like,
yeah.
Like, the Asian characters never feel seriously from Asian American culture. So, like, the Asian American experience is never in it. Because if I want to read characters about Japan, I could just read, like, millions of pages of manga. I can go read, like, South Korean comics. I can go read Chinese comics where I did in college. But, like, the Asian American experience, much like television, is, like, doesn't exist. Like, it still bothers me that, like, Jubilee was made into a fucking vampire, because it's like there was so much potential for, like, the 90s kids generation's Kitty Pryde. Like, Kitty Pryde is an 80s teenager thing. It's like a Generation Xer, but, like, the millennial teenage X-Man is Jubilee. Like, that's it.
Like, when I got X-Men *1, I was the right age for Jubilee to be, like, that cool older teen character, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it was so perfect, like, so perfectly pitched.
It's like, she was perfect. She was sarcastic. She was gully. She saved people.
Yeah.
It was like everything you wanted. It's almost like everything you wanted from, like, you know, the big thing about having a female Robin, like, Jubilee was that.
Yeah, that's true. That's why they matched her up with Tim Drake in that Amalgams comics.
Yeah, it was perfect because it's like, yeah, that's what she does. Like, she's, like, self-sufficient, and it's just like, yo, y'all don't. And even the whole Generation X was just everything. Like, that's, like, my favorite X-Men comic because it's like, yo, they had, like, a black kid from freaking Atlanta that was just chilling, and he was just, like, dumb powerful, but he was calm. They had, like, Monet, and she was, like,
Chamber
stuck up. Chamber was Britain. They had Skin, who was like, oh, West Coast Latin gangster. Like, I was like, and no one exploits that. I was like, what if he ever goes back to the hood? Like, you're an X-Men, but when you go back to the streets, like.
That's what I liked about X-Force in that same time, or maybe a little bit before Generation X, was that it was crazy multi-ethnic too.
Yes.
Like, there was X-Force that had two different types of Latinos on the team, and there was Blood Syndicate at a Milestone. And then there was just, like, one from then until now. Like, that was the rule. But, like, just having, like, a Mexican and a Bronx Puerto Rican on the same team is, like, some cool thing.
I know, because it's like, those are different people. Like, those,
exactly.
everything's different about that. And it's like, man, And then like Milestone too, it just like I don't think I appreciated as much as I should have when I was a kid.
Oh man, as an adult though, like I love it. Like I want to write letters and just like campaign.
It's like I want to like. It gets to the point. It's like yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah,
like that's what I want to do. Like what they like if Milestone is like Uptown Records and they like Andre Harrell, like I don't know how, but I got to become like Jay-Z of Puffy or something. Like there was nobody to pick that up.
Yeah, but I think that now that where we're at with like digital comics and Kickstarter and Patreon and that sort of thing, like that's going to change a whole lot.
Yeah,
because I don't think Marvel and DC will ever really be down. Like it's not in their business plan necessarily. Because they want like all of America, and you can get all of America basically with just like white people and white people writing colored people. But like the more people who can do their own thing, like the doper stuff we're going to end up with, I think.
That's true. It's just, it's weird to see, like, because Marvel is just seen a certain way.
Yeah.
They have such good, like, people straight up dick ride them, but, you know, for the ones that ain't dick riding, they just seen so well, but it's just like, if you just, like, critically think sometimes, it's like, but what about this? Or what about that? Like, I still don't, like, when your parent company puts on more black people than you do, and, like, you don't get no more mainstream than Disney. There was a black person in Cinderella. There was no black person in that cartoon movie, but, hey, like, Kenneth Branagh was like, the prince's main dude is going to be a black dude. I'm like, okay, I'm right with you, Branagh. Like, all right, like, let's go. Like, Blackish is on TV. Like,
yeah, Fresh Off the Boat too, which is amazing to me.
Fresh Off the Boat is hilarious, but I also like, since I've been watching Eddie Wong's like Vice like food show for like 2 years, and I've like I've read some of his book, and I like actually like read about him and like listened to him. I get his points about the show because he has issues because since it's his life.
Yeah, he says that they played down a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like his dad wasn't like a comedy sitcom dad at all. Nah,
he was an Asian dad. Like, and that, like, I don't know, I'm black. We call ass beatings. They don't really. It's funny how like they're not going to put that in that show, but they had a whole episode of Blackish. Yeah, about ass beating. Like, should he do the ass beating? And his dad is like, "You should beat that little ass," and he's like, "I can't do it." Like. But it's 93. Like, clearly, young Eddie Wong was catching that ass whooping. Like,
yeah, definitely.
You know, that's straight up minority experience in America for like mad long. Yo, you catching ass whoopings. You mess up, you catching a beating, which is like, you know, not PC to say now, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm from that. I caught my share. I'll put it like that.
Take an L. Just don't do that shit no more.
Yeah, exactly. But that's even though it's like Fresh Off the Boat and Blackish, like it took people of color getting a look to even get those on TV.
Yeah. It's amazing though, because now like since that happened, there's going to be like this influx.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be like the 90s again.
The decade in which people like to hate on yet was probably like the dopest decade. Yeah, you know, like the 80s is cool, but it's not the 90s. Like the 90s is fucking amazing. Like
just that run, like beginning with In Living Color all the way through like Moesha. There were just so many classic sitcoms. You know, these TV shows.
Like 95 alone, just like 95, 90. Like, it's funny you think back, it's like, yo, Steve Urkel was like the biggest thing on television for like years. Like Fresh Prince had like Will Smith was on a show, then did 2 movies back to back. Like, yeah, he killed everything. Martin was killing everything was popping. Everything was popping. Like hip hop was popping, TV was popping. It's just funny because it's like I never really, you know, to go back to comics, like we never even had that shot really to like pop off and even get like drugged back away. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It's just like, it's always just white dudes writing everything. Like, just white dudes. Not even like a bunch of white women. Like they can't even eat. Like y'all ain't even letting them eat. Like damn, it's like still the civil rights movement and suffrage in this bitch. Like at the same time.
Yeah, I just I think about like the diversity, I don't know, conversation problem, whatever you want to call it, like a lot. And I don't see how to fix it without like owning a big company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me either. Like I don't know how do you.
And even then, like Joe Quesada is the top dog at Marvel, and like they're still doing the same old thing.
Alonso, they both two Latino dudes.
Yeah.
I'm like, for real, like y'all, and like Alonzo, I thought he grew up in like on the block.
Oh yeah, he's from out here in the Bay, apparently.
Like, yo,
and like they've done good. Like I don't want to make it sound like they're terrible because like Alonzo will try anything new. It seems like, which I really appreciate. But like, just none of it is hit the way that it needs to.
It's still for some reason it still comes back, and I don't know if it's a store thing. Because, they got to make stuff that the store owners will buy.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, or a fan base thing. Or like, because then like the stores really only buy what their fans will buy.
But what I think is that fans will buy anything if you can prove to them that it's cool.
Yeah.
Because like Fast and the Furious it just made $1 billion, right? Like,
yes.
And imagine going back to 1999 or 2000 when you first saw that movie and being like, there's going to be more of these than there are Godfathers and Star Wars, and it's going to make $1 billion in like 2 weeks. Like that's crazy.
There's no way in hell. Like there was no way because I fuss with Fast and the Furious. First of all, after I got to 2, which I liked, I was like,
I
don't even know how you was going to get to like when I saw 3 and I finally saw 3, I was like, man, they might make a 4. But no way in hell was I was going to thinking it was going to become, as I like to call it, Black Avengers. Like,
yeah, no, 100%. That's funny. I've been saying Black James Bond, but same thing basically.
It's everything, like, because this movie was like Black Mission Impossible. I was like, well shit, okay.
But that's the thing where like people are open up to anything, but since retailers have to make money, like they have to stay in business, they're more conservative than the fan base.
Yeah.
And I just mean that in like a economic sense, not like, they hate gay marriage or whatever. So like, they're like, we don't want to take a big risk. And since they don't take a big risk, then the fans don't see that new hotness. Yeah. There's people making comics right now that should be legendary, but like they just can't get their books seen.
Yeah. That depresses me. I'm just like, I don't know why this isn't hot. And that's hot. And I know there's sometimes like a little underground fan bases that could prop things up. So like when I find out about like fan bases boosting up, let's say like Captain Marvel, Image, and Miss Marvel. I mean, not Image, I mean like Marvel, like all that stuff and like Lumberjanes over there or like Bitch Planet. That shit get me kind of hyped because it's like they ground roots in it and they doing it for self. Yeah.
Like I respect Kelly Sue so much for just even like leading that charge or even being at the forefront of that charge.
Yeah, she gully. Like,
yeah, like it's the most amazing thing in comics to me right now is that we've got this for real, like Mary Marvel marching society, but it's actually like intelligent and conscious about what it's doing. And it's enthusiasm based too, which is big for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like they get hype and they get defensive and they get like, and it's funny because, like, when I see that, and then, like, when I see the reactions to it from, let's say, like, the older fan base.
Yeah.
The older dude fan base.
You treat it like it's not real or they haven't paid their dues.
Like, it bothers me. And so, like, because it feels like I've had many moments when I've been in a comic book store and I'm around, quote unquote geeks. And I never really fit in with geeks because I didn't buy comics in the comic book store growing up.
Yeah, I was a trader as a kid.
This shit was in the grocery store. Like,
Yeah.
There was this dope little convenience store in the mall across from the Timeout, and I would go buy X-Men and Wildstorm comics, and I'll go to Timeout play Street Fighter. It was nothing but like black people in there.
Yeah.
We listen to rap music and we play Street Fighter, like the most hood 90s shit ever. Wu-Tang, Street Fighter, X-Men comics, like. So this like dynamic of like feeling picked on and like. Not feeling right, and I guess they get to a point where like they lash out because now they got like, I don't know, power, or feel like they got power.
Yeah, now they're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, and I never fit in with that because it's like, dude, I like basketball and Nikes and rap music, and I go outside.
I was in the same boat.
Like, I don't understand what are you talking about. Like, so like when I see like. Yeah, girls in it. Hooray, high five. Like, we needed this. I've been wanting this shit forever. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. Like, I watched Sailor Moon every morning before I went to school and I ate my breakfast because it was dope. Like,
wouldn't that come on right before Savage Dragon? Like that whole block on USA?
See, I didn't have cable, so it would come on syndication. They would play that shit in Dragon Ball. Like, I was like, what, like 94, 95? Anime every morning before school? Like, yo, like, I don't have to watch the tape. I don't do traveling. Like, eating cereal, like running out. So it's like this. It's like the whole like back and forth and like calling them like, oh, you ain't real fans, or this, the fake outrage should be blowing me.
Yeah, that's a huge pet peeve. Like, I lose respect for people pretty much as soon as I see them talk about that. Because
it's like I see people bitch up over a character change in an outfit. That's fake outrage. But like to continue feel marginalized by an entire like industry on some shit, and like you get like a little bit of shine, and then they just go back and like kind of like some dude just comes in and like checks you like, oh yeah, I still want to fuck this character though, like, like you for real, like you gonna do that, like, and then you gonna get mad when people like, it's like how you gonna get mad at people's feelings though?
Yeah, like when you're basically just calling somebody a liar. Is what it comes down to. Because, like, being mad doesn't feel good.
Nah, it don't.
And, like, there's no level of being mad in comics that'll, like, get you paid.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can do that on the national stage. Like, you can be that person for better or for worse. But this is comic books. Like, there's a joke that there's $23 in comics and it's all passed around, like, at conventions.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. It's just like that Frank Cho shit bothered me.
Yeah, it was not a good look because like it's always the context that kills because people don't realize, like, they see their perspective on it, and so he's like I like his art, like I feel like he's talented, but he's like, I'm gonna draw a sexy version of this character because that's what I do, but it's like a sexy version of a character that young women have latched onto in a huge way. Yeah. So it's like a slap in the face. Like, I was at, WonderCon a couple of weeks ago, and hands down, like Harley Quinn was the most popular costume I saw. The next most popular was Spider-Gwen. And it's just all young women who are like into this, and like they have a entryway into it that they didn't have before. So it's like, don't, like, maybe wait a little bit before you step on that.
Yeah, it's like it's too new, it's too fresh, and then like, my main thing was just like, oh yeah, you're going to use that Manara cover. Yeah. You're going to use something that people already got issues with. It's like you pulling the scab, or you yanking the Band-Aid off something that's like, it ain't totally healed up yet. Yeah. Then I'm going to throw the new Spider female character on it. Like, Spider-Woman already have her baggage of just dress and being like a sex object. Yeah. And then he drew it that way, and people felt some type of way. We kind of got past it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But like Spider-Gwen, like, yeah, she walks around in like some leggings and a hoodie and some dope ass Nikes or some shit. And
it's like real fashion.
Yeah, she's just like geared, and she's like, oh, put a mask on and just like being OG Spider-Man stories. So I'm like, why are you all like? It's her second issue, and y'all all, and this is cool. Yeah, like it's funny, like on even in terms of a joke, like. Y'all sense of humor is suspect, because that means like that shit wouldn't pass any joke. Like, this dude drew comic strips. Mm-hmm. He knows how to tell a joke. I read Liberty Meadows every day. Yeah,
I still have those collections.
He can do so much better.
Honestly, what I think it is like, when you're in the moment and it's just you and you think that we're all on a level playing field. like, I could see how this would be funny or how you could think it would be funny, but like once you look around at like the way we treat women in our culture and specifically in comics, like it's not funny anymore.
Yeah. It's just like to me it was tasteless.
Yeah.
He did it to poke somebody.
Yeah.
Like we talk all this shit about bullying right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like effectively that's what he's doing. Like, yo, I'm gonna take your toy and do some. It's like when the boys would take the girls' Barbies and have G.I. Joe have sex with them.
Yeah.
And you gonna do that, and then when people get mad, your whole team is gonna jump on them. Then you gonna get boosted up, and then you gonna draw Harley Quinn like that.
Yeah, I think the like the Gamergate stuff especially makes it a real bad look at the moment.
Oh, that shit was horrible. The Gamergate stuff was horrible.
Yeah, like I barely even talked about it because it's just disgusting to me. Like personally, because like I worked in video games and I grew up playing video games with my cousin. Like she was my player too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I just don't understand the whole mentality, and I think that like you got to be conscious of that stuff right now because there's so much that like we just don't understand from our perspective, either as men or as black men. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you got to wait a little bit before you speak on things sometimes. Like get the facts before you make a decision.
Yeah, the Gamergate thing always confused me. The whole culture of it, of gaming becoming so male oriented.
Yeah,
I think happened around the time Xbox came out and like PC gaming and first person shooters kind of took over. For me, because
like
it's
Halo
like
was popping off in Call of Duty.
Yeah, like because it's like everything from Nintendo up until then. Yeah, you know, it was male focused, but most of my childhood memories of playing games, girls was involved. Like Bubble Bobble, like all of like Legend of Zelda, all that, like Super Mario, like everybody was playing, everybody was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, you know, I become an adult, my game playing change up, the death of arcades happened because arcades, everybody come in, it was kind of male focused. I ain't gonna lie, but like on Fridays or in the movie theater, yo, everybody playing the game. Like to me, you always go back to Street Fighter. Street Fighter was, you know, it's how good you are. I really don't give a damn what gender you are. Like, if you could whoop somebody, you could whoop somebody. Like,
now that I'm thinking about it too, kind of the rise of Xbox and like console online, like killed person-to-person gameplay. Yeah. If you played Street Fighter with somebody, you were standing next to him. And it's harder to be, you know, like, you can still do it, but it's a lot harder to be racist or sexist when you're looking in somebody's eyes.
Or even talk shit in general. You might get smacked in the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've seen guns pulled in Street Fighter. Like, people think this shit is a game. Like no. Like, and I guess much like life, it's like if you live in the tougher areas, you see some things, or even around the most simplest pleasures. Like,
yeah. But that's the thing where like it just made people see other people not as people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you're behind a screen name or whatever. And like I'm fine with anonymity and using a nickname and that kind of thing. Like just own your name, you know?
Yeah.
But like don't forget that people are people at the same time.
Yeah, they it's interesting the discussions within like the geek community about freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And censorship. It's like, I don't know if you all actually understand what censorship is.
Yeah.
Especially when we're living in a world that's so connected and we can literally see censorship happening in other countries.
Like in live streamed almost. Like you see stuff out of China all the time.
Yeah.
Where they can't access this website or that.
Like countries where they can't talk about this, or like the state says like X. Like, nah, that's censorship. Somebody saying some shit is whack. And like, I'm not going to support it financially isn't censorship. That's someone's voicing their opinion and like standing for something.
Yeah.
Ain't censorship. Like, I don't know when did that happen? That's the new 2014, 2015 version of censorship right there. I'll be like, that's some new level of shit.
Like being mildly critical of something.
Yeah, like, oh, that's censorship. Like, really? Like, That's what happened. That's what the Ain't It Cool News era then brought. Like, that means the democracy of criticism has reached to the point that if you do criticize something, it is now reaching levels of censorship because there's too many fans involved. Like, really?
Yeah, I feel like I don't even know. Like, there's so much. There's like, for a long time, critics were like basically one type of person. Like, relatively well off. Well, not well off, I shouldn't say, but like comfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a McDonald's worker would be. But now we're at a point where anybody can talk about movies. So we have all these different perspectives coming in.
Yeah.
And I think that people are like, whoa, this is new and I don't know how to handle it. So they react with, like fear and anger.
Yeah, it's fear, anger, and it's like, almost like a sense of entitlement, because it seemed like before, like, along with a lot of things, like the nature of the quote unquote gatekeepers, or like the editorial standard, and the fact there was less voices, or there was people who's like, all right, we're team New York Times, we're team New York Press, we're team LA Press, we're team this, and we're going to say this, and this is where we're coming from, and these people wrote a lot, or they read a lot, or they went to school, or they did this, and this is their opinions and views on the merits of this thing throughout the history of X. Mm-hmm. But now it's just like anybody can say anything, so that not only do they disrespect people with knowledge of things, like, if you're not like team fan of this, we're going to team up on you. You're the enemy.
And if you are team fan and you speak against it in a way that we're not comfortable with, that's what kills me, I think. It's like in comics for me personally, like I got into a lot of like dumb fights because I would say like, I like this, and then I would talk about something I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And that, like, I could say all types of wild stuff on my own, but as soon as I stepped into that realm, for some reason, it would get nasty every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what? Like that time, like, what, Steven Wacker?
Oh, yeah. When I was like,
with you publicly? like in the comic?
Yeah, that was crazy. Because I was like, Daredevil is tight, but y'all are going to burn out your artists, double shipping. And it was like, I handled it poorly in hindsight. Like, I totally caught my feelings. But also I won, because now artists are saying that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, there are artists who have quit Marvel because they're like, yeah, double shipping makes for shitty storytelling.
Because they can't keep up.
Yeah.
And it's like, how about this? Maybe let's stop writing story arcs that are 6 issues long and write a story that's, I don't know, an issue. Like, it worked for 40 previous years.
Like, it's that thing. Like, I don't know anything about the business of comics. Like, I'm not good at that stuff. But like, I know what a good comic is. I can kind of figure out how to make a good, not personally, but like the ingredients that go into it. And like, a comfortable, happy artist is number one on that list. And if you got to draw like 20 pages every 2 weeks, like, you're not going to be very happy.
I think really it's part of this trend of the devaluation of artists, of the visual part of 100%. Comics.
Colorists, letterers, everybody. Yeah,
like, I don't understand why their names ain't on the books. Like, I'm like, the writer is cool and all.
Yeah.
To me, I guess for me, it goes into that whole general comic thing of hating on the 90s, in which the artists got literally so big, they became like, oh, Rob Liefeld chilling with Steven Spielberg, Mark Silvestri going to the Playboy Mansion, and a bunch of people leaving, and then they come back, and it's like writers came through, or basically a bunch of people who was grinding out being writer-artists decide like, oh, I can get more money if I just write the books. Instead of drawing them and writing them, I can just get paid. Nothing against that hustle. Like, kudos for Brian Michael Bendis for being a writer-artist, getting the shot to write books.
Yeah, his success story is crazy.
Like, he
was doing indie crime comics, and now he's Marvel's like top superhero guy.
He has to be caking. He has a goddamn TV show that pops up every time I turn on my PS4. Talk about, a new episode is out. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, caking, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's just this thing. Just like, I'm like, yeah, writers are like. And I think it's because I shifted to reading so much manga.
Mm-hmm.
With like, and then like almost 90% of it is the writer artists, are like dudes who just do everything, dudes and females who do everything. They say, I write it and I draw it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like,
and even the ones that are writers and artists, like usually the artist is still on the writing side too.
Yeah, because thanks to Bakuman, I know now they gotta like draw the whole goddamn thing out and show it to the editor and then redraw the whole goddamn comic before it comes out. Like what the fuck? Like, damn, that would kill American comic book artists.
Yeah.
Do it twice all the time. But it's just like why is the writer that much important? Like, how are you?
I think it's because the writer can produce more. Like, Marvel and DC, they make comics and they make comics art, but they're not in the art business, you know, like the way like Fantagraphics would be.
Yeah.
They're putting out product, which sounds like super cold and evil. And I like a lot of those books, but like it's meant to, you know, strengthen a brand. And that means like you got to have it on the shelves. Like that's what they're aiming for. So if you have a writer that can do, you know, write a 6-issue arc like every couple months or whatever. Not every couple months, but you know, like a realistic deadline. Like you can put that person in charge of more than an artist who can just do, you know, 20 to 40 pages a month.
Yeah. I also never understood how come artists didn't. I still don't get why more successful artists don't have assistants.
I think a lot do. I'm coming to find out. Like just working and like talking with people. It's like if someone's working in a studio environment, like they definitely have access to assistants.
Yeah, but I mean like the level of assistance where you know you can get out like.
Oh yeah.
Like manga level, like I can kick out 19 pages in a week type of shit. Like, like that level of assistance. Like if I'm that much of a name and I know I can bring in X amount of money per book. Yo, somebody else is drawing all the rubble. Somebody else is drawing every street sign. Like, I'm only drawing Spider-Man.
Yeah, the One Piece tactic.
Yeah, like, I'm only drawing that. Like, yeah. And, you know, Oda, was he making, like, how many million a year in US dollars? Because
it's got to be crazy. It's One Piece sales 10. Dropped and it's just selling 4 million in trade paperback now.
Oh, just 4.
Yeah. Down from like 7 or 6 or something.
Like, yeah, like Attack on Titan ate into its sales that much, but
yeah,
still like, wow, only 4 million a trade. Like, oh.
And that's not even a year. Like a couple of those come out every year. Like it's absurd.
It's the level of just guap. It's just like, in terms of business sense, in terms of brand managing, I don't always get what Marvel and DC does.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, well, I guess they're successful enough within comics because everyone's happy and sales are up. So
yeah, I think that like for comic shops especially, we need those two.
Yeah, just
because they're such a big part of the business, and the movies are good PR for comic books sometimes.
Yeah,
but like I'm not their target audience anymore. Yeah. Like that's the weird part is like growing up on it and then realizing that like maybe it wasn't aimed at me at all.
Yeah, or I don't know if it was ever like. I still think like the 90s was kind of weird because they have some different voices. Like I ain't gonna lie, when I was growing up, I read mostly only X-Men comics and Wildstorm comics.
Yeah,
and there was mad black folks eating over Wildstorm. And there was mad Asian people eating at Wildstorm too. So
even up through the end, there was that dude JJ Kirby was super nice.
One of my favorite dudes in the game. I remember there was this old show on Sci-Fi Network talking about comics. And that was like the first time I saw like a bunch of young black dudes in comics, and they all worked in Wildstorm. I was like, yo, Image is the shit. like people in the West Coast chilling, wearing seatbelts as belts. Like, all motherfuckers is chilling. Like, that is what's up. So it skewed my perception of the game because they didn't look like corny enough in. Like, it was chilling. The books was cool. It was like a bunch of Filipinos and like black people and like just writing comic books that was awesome. And like now, it feels like all right, I know your target demo is like grown ass men.
Yeah.
But I guess it's for grown ass men who kind of not as cool anymore. And like, I don't think I'm a cool person. Mm-hmm. I consider myself a square, but like, I go out like every weekend. Like, I got friends who got like galleries and shit. We be going out. I be out till 3 a.m. on the weekends, some crazy shit like that. I'm like, I listen to like new rap music. Like new rap music, not just like stuff from 2004. Like I listened to stuff that come out like last week. Like, oh
yeah, it drives me
shit.
crazy when people are like, "Oh, I stopped listening to rap in the '90s," and they still call themselves a rap fan.
I was like, you fail.
Yeah, like no, you're a Jay-Z fan. Like that's what that is.
It's like you like some hits, or like yeah, like so it's like I don't fit in. So when I read the comments, it's like that's not cool. Like I'm still getting to the point. It's like, how come Luke Cage never talked like he from Harlem? Like I'm watching interviews with Dame Dash. It's like, and I think back, like, yeah, that's kind of like how dudes from Harlem talk, like him and Cameron and ASAP Rocky. Like, how come Luke Cage never talks like them? Like, I really sit there, like, why? That doesn't make sense.
And that's like, I don't see why people see like diversity as a threat, because it would just make things so much doper. Like people like rap music because of black tourism, basically. Mm-hmm. Like they get a taste of like a specific side of the culture that they think is true or whatever. And like if you throw a little, like it's terrible, but if you put a little bit of that in the comics would be so much cooler.
It'd be so amazing.
Like every time you get a comic with like some type of flavor, it's always mind blowing.
Yeah, like just a little bit. Like, oh wow.
Yeah. Like Jeff Parker had somebody in Thunderbolt say "swole" one time, and I swear it was like just a gift for me and my friends because that was hilarious.
It's like, yes,
like I get it finally.
Like I was just like, or like I ain't gonna lie, like when I first read Mr. Miracle and he had like Mother Box spelled like Big Boy Speaker Box, I was like, my brain was like, hold up. This Scottish dude is really like he listened to the Outkast. like what? Let me continue reading this.
People just don't get like how exciting that is. Like I don't know if it feels. It's probably not. It doesn't even feel like seeing a Beatles reference because they're everywhere. You know, like they're a part of the culture. But that's like an inside joke, like a shared culture moment right there. Like that's what makes you love something forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it fits like the world, and it's just like I don't know if like like there's certain things like I read I read Hickman's Avengers up to the point in which I stopped reading Marvel, and I just like the fact that it's funny because it's kind of one of the most least selling Avengers books. But it was so diverse. Like he has freaking Sunspot.
Oh, he's got
being
that
awesome.
duo.
Yeah, like Cannonball, Sunspot, like like Sunspot runs AIM and shit. I'm just like,
really?
Like he bought AIM and they're just chilling, like leading the Team Avengers, and like Captain Universe is like a black woman, and like there's just Nightfall. There's just mad black people, Latinos, and like women in the team. And it's just like. And it's like, of course, it's also like one of the densest stories ever. Like, of course, people wouldn't want to read this Avengers title. Of course, it would lose sales. Like, it's the first Avengers team to look like the X-Men from the '90s, and everybody stops buying it.
I love that Cannonball Sunspot friendship. Like that was one of my favorite things as a kid.
Oh, it's so cool. Like it's so cool. They're just homies. It's Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. Like.
Because like I grew up in the South, like when I was in knee deep in Georgia when those were coming out. So like I was friends with rednecks and black people alike. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like their accents were never that real. Like I can't front on that. They had Sunspot speaking Spanish half the time. Yeah. But it was still real. Like their interplay, like they were conscious of the fact that they were white and brown, but like it didn't really matter.
It was just life.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's just kind of like, it's just weird when you just see kind of stuff like that just ignored and like a bunch of other things put into the front. Or even sometimes like when they kind of like take certain things away, and like it was for a while where I felt the X-Men became It was like a bunch of writers who decided like the X-Men are just going to be completely allegory about homosexuality. I'm like, nah, the X-Men was just kind of an allegory for being a minority, and like all that shit was stewed together like gumbo. Like, being gay, being black, being Latino, being Asian, like being Jewish, and your family was like escaped the hollow. Like all that stuff was mixed all together in this great soup of minorityness. Like everybody, like I got this story about South Africa. Like Cliff Scarpa was like,
do it.
Yeah, Cliff Scarpa was like, I just read about apartheid in South Africa. I'm gonna make up Genosha. Like I'm just gonna do it. Like,
and that's totally like where they mess up. Is where they get too specific.
Yeah.
Because then, like, you're dealing with real experiences. If you're just kind of a generic, like, oh, it's a metaphor for oppression and subaltern cultures, like, that's cool because you can do a lot with that.
Yeah.
But when you're, like, hair politics or something like that, or interracial dating politics, like, then you're in somebody's life. And that's a lot harder to turn into, like, entertaining fiction.
Yeah. Especially if you're not, like, part of it.
Yeah.
Like, that means you're completely looking from the outside and you don't have any experiences or basis. Mm-hmm. It's like, where are you pulling this from?
Do you remember when Dwayne McDuffie was writing Fantastic Four?
Yes.
And he had that scene where Storm was like, my hair is natural and you need to test me.
My hair is real.
Yeah.
My hair is real.
Like every black person I knew like flipped out. Like it was hilarious.
It was so good because Stick was like, your hair ain't real. I was like, what? What? I was like, I looked at the front cover. I was like, is this first of all, wow. And she had like,
Marvel comic, a Fantastic Four.
Thing was hanging, like holding her by her hair. She got her arms crossed, like.
And Panther was like, shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, like he was just like shaking his head, like, I don't know why you even did that, man. Like, I don't even know what you're thinking. I was like, wow. Like, I miss Dwayne McDuffie writing superhero comics. It's like once he died, I don't think they ever let anybody else in like him. Like the ability to just move in throughout all the worlds with ease and subtlety in which he could fold in cultural things.
Yeah, it was never like I never felt like I was reading a tract when I was reading his comics. Like he just kept it like super real in like the purest sense of the term. He was like, what are people who do blah, 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 or who are blah, blah, blah? Like, let me see if I can get a little bit of that into this comic. Because like a lot of black people in comics, I feel like are basically the same character. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like there's so much range in the black experience. Because like you and I have probably like similar tastes and interests and probably experiences growing up, but we're still really different people. You know what I mean? And it's just such a waste, like, to not have that.
It's like, I ain't gonna lie. It is certain things that, like, I guess I'm just gonna end up doing myself when I feel like drawing again or making another comic.
Yeah.
But it's like, I would love to see, like, a superhero, like, press about getting, like, a new pair of Jordans. Like,
that's what made Spider-Man so dope in the 60s.
Yeah, it has so much like current culture and like he's gonna go see the freaking Ramones. Like what the fuck? You're like you read old Spider-Man, like what? All right, whatever. It's like just like stunting. There's no stunting in comics. There's no like hardcore superhero stunting.
Yeah,
just like out there flexing. Like I'm gonna punch like the wrecker in the face and then like take the bomb ass, like just flex on him, like just,
a selfie
talk trash. Yeah, like snap, like you check that shit out, Cap. You see what I just did, son?
You think that's because it's like story arc focused now? Like there's no time for like the baseball issue?
Yeah, I do think so. Like, cause if it's taking you 6 issues to tell like a whole story, so it's like every arc is a movie.
Yeah.
So you only have 2 hours. You don't get the slice of life parts.
Yeah.
Like you don't get the X-Men, like, you know, Nightcrawler, Wolverine chilling at the bar, drinking a beer after fighting Proteus or some shit. Like you don't really get that no more.
Yeah,
you get that in covers. You get those with the little variant covers, like, oh, that's them hanging out. But when do they have time to hang out? Like,
Yeah, I
it
was
used
just
to be
thinking
people.
about my first comic, Amazing Spider-Man 316, like that Return of Venom issue. And like a third of that, I think, maybe a little bit less, was like Peter and Mary Jane talking about moving, like on the phone. Like they were moving in with Aunt May, I think.
Oh, yeah. I love, like, that's what I miss about, like, Spider-Man. I stopped reading Spider-Man a long time ago when they got rid of the marriage. It's just like,
Yeah.
people felt some type of way, but I'm like, I grew up with a married Spider-Man, and I had no problems with seeing a young dude married to, like, a supermodel. Like,
Yeah, same here.
that's
In
dope.
fact,
Like,
it was cool because like she was dope too.
yeah, she had her own little storyline. She had like, oh, she's in a soap opera and somebody giving her static. She got to deal with that, and then like all that stuff was soap opera stuff. That's what makes Spider-Man dope. But then you get rid of it. Like, I don't really want to see dating Spider-Man.
Yeah, dating sucks. Like let me see his success.
Like, hold up, like how many of you young guys is dating? I know a lot of people in comics, they be having married and be having kids and shit. Like, they in their like mid the 30s, the 40s. It's like, do y'all know what it's really like out in these streets? Like, it's not fun. Like, have you watched Aziz Ansari special? Every joke about texting is real. Like, it's not fun.
That's a trip.
Like, who want to write that? Like, he had a dime. He had a supermodel. That's an actress. Like,
I wonder if it's because the fan base got older. Because like the target audience for, Spider-Man in the 80s was one group, but now it's basically people who were reading Spider-Man, when they were growing up. So like the marriage thing was cool when we were kids because it was something to look up to.
yeah.
But maybe now that like everybody's a dad or a mom, it's like, well, what if we were free again?
Excuse me. This that weird thing of just like aspirational versus like escapism.
Yeah.
I like my aspirational escapism. Like, I think it's because I grew up listening to rap music. I want the Phantom.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hear about that. Like,
That's one
Big
thing I
Pimp
liked a
and
lot
Spinach
about
Cheese.
that, the Fast and the Furious 7, is that they're like, yo, family is the goal. Like, being home with your people. Because that's such like a mature moral for a movie to have.
It's
Especially a movie about race cars. Like, it's crazy.
it's amazing to me that a movie based off of a Vibe article about street racing in LA led to essentially an action movie that kind of works within the concepts of Dungeons and Dragons with cars. And every action movie genre they can fold into it.
Yeah, there was
And
even parkour in this one.
It does straight up come back to like real salt of the earth thing, like your people, your family, the person you love. That's it. Like, my peoples need to be taken care of. We need to have our cookouts with the Coronas.
And just like I read a lot of manga intended for like young boys in the 80s is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And it showed me that like friendship is like the illest thing in the entire world, because like I've always appreciated my friends, but to see friendship turn into kind of like a storytelling tool, like I can only do this because, somebody has faith in me. Like, that is amazing. And that's sort of like what I feel like a lot of stories miss, is that motivation, like that heart.
Yeah, they don't have. It's my issues with quote unquote the maturing of comics, where it's not really mature.
Yeah,
it's just like explicit things and sometimes terrible ideas versus like, yeah. When I read One Piece and like Luffy's like, yo, Doflamingo, I want to punch you in the chest because yo, Law had a hard life and I rocks with dude. And you mess him and his peoples up, and look at what you did to these people. I got to whoop that ass.
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's like the realest shit. That's base level shit on Earth. Like, yeah, I got to whoop that ass.
It's so
like,
human, and it's all based out of love, which is like sort of a crazy thing to say about an action comic,
Yeah.
But every motivation in there is like, I either got to do right or I got to do right by somebody. Like, I owe them because they were good to me.
It's like so that hard. Like when I watch, like when I'm reading, like essentially that's their superhero stuff. Like it comes back to like core basic, and I know why like this stuff is exploding throughout the world for so many years. Like Dragon Ball, like so a weird take on Journey to the West, but like Goku is just like. It's like Goku's like, oh, I love my people. Like I come back from death to go to like Bulma's birthday party because them is my people. Like I gotta see my family. And it's like, yeah, we'll fight XX. Or like Naruto, like there was points when Naruto's got like a little bit more mature because it came with more relationship stuff. But in the end, it was just like, yo, I believe in Sasuke. No matter all this other bullshit that he done did. I'm going to redeem because he's my best friend and he's my brother. Like, I'm like, God damn. Like, ain't that something? Well,
you know
shit.
Who would be so good at that? Like, over here is Garth Ennis.
Yeah, actually, his stories does have a lot of heart, even though he got a lot of crazy other shit.
Yeah, like, I think if he can... if he finally gets to do the book where it's just like two dudes chilling in a bar for 6 issues, just talking about life... Like, that'd be it. Like, you could cancel comics because it'd be done better.
It's like, I'm watching, like, now, like, I watch a lot of, like Kamen Rider and, like, Super Sentai.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that, like, the way they do things is different. Like, I had an epiphany when I was watching the last Super Sentai show, which is about trains. Rangers that dress up like they got their suits of trains, and they make giant trains, and they make a giant robot, and they fight these monsters. But there's a certain point when you're really looking at it as an adult, like as a kid, you'll be like, oh, that's cool. They're going to fight the monster, save the day, and then like power through imagination. But when you watch it and you notice that the whole show is about depression.
Wow.
And how to overcome depression. And the main bad guy can't get out of the darkness. And like the entire show is about depression. And I was like, that's mature themes.
Yeah.
They don't tell you it's about depression. As an adult, you can see it's like, wow, the main bad guy is really depressed. And he latches on to these other people. He sees like, I want to get out of this depression and I don't know how. But like these young heroes know how, and they get out and they save the day because that's what happens at the end of Ranger shows.
That's heroes.
Yeah, but there's no tragedy in the beginning. There's like kind of a tragedy, like, oh, they kind of they don't know where like they came from or something. They just wake up, they were kids, they wake up as like young adults, and they're like, oh, how we got to figure our way back. But it's not like my mom was murdered in front of me. Like it's just like it's like dress up in colorful outfits, or like Kamen Rider gets a little bit more serious. But, serious from, like, stuff for a 5-year-old versus stuff for, like, an 8-year-old type of series.
Yeah. Like, he's still, like a Beetle dude.
Yeah,
that's still the origin.
Like, the last one that got really deep for me, but it was like they transform into fruit. Like, fruit armor, samurai armor. Like, that dude is like a banana with, like, a banana spear. Like, and he rides a motorcycle made out of a flower. Like, that shit is absurd. But in the end, it was still like, it was about generational. It was like a bunch of urban kids that all they wanted to do was dance. And then, like, this big corporation was, like, buying up all the property and taking away, like, their freedoms and shit. It was just like... Like, I could turn this show into, like, a show in America, like, right now. Just, like, you can just fit that with a bunch of black people and, like, brown people, and just, like, it will still work. Yeah. And it's, like, it's about dancing and, like, growing up. Like, I was like, this shit is the best shit ever. Like, and anyone could watch it, and it still has the same things you want from a superhero thing. Like, they still fight the bad guy. They still got to overcome the challenges. But I don't gotta see people, like, get gored through the stomach or, like, random rapes or like
it's too much. Like there's, especially for superheroes, because like superheroes were meant for children, and sometimes when you go too deep, like you can see the seams. Because like you can't have complex morality in a superhero comic, because in the end it's going to come down to somebody getting punched out. And you can do it like short term. Like it was cool when like Joe Casey was writing Pacifist Superman, but not making a big deal out of it. But like you can't sustain it.
It's funny because I think the weird thing with Superman, I think you can sustain it, but people became too cynical for it. Because if you read like old Superman comics, and I've been like, I said this recently too, the last episode with Ron, I was like, if you read, there's issues of Superman where he don't fight nobody. It's just like, he's like just dealing with like, man, I got to figure out my life between being Superman and Clark Kent. Like, I got to make sure people don't find out who I am. And
yeah, I had one issue as a kid where like, I guess he self-hypnotizes, or he hypnotizes himself and everybody around him so that they don't realize his secret identity.
None of that, like all that stuff is just dealing with like Superman trying to like live life in a modern era. Like, I don't know why, like, but they were still meant for like 7-year-olds, so stuff would be goofy. But when you really look at it, it's like, what? Like these dudes were working out some things about, I guess, feeding their families and being like a man or something. But but they didn't have to like he didn't have to punch people all the time. Like he might get turned into like an insect head, but like, oh well, like. But now it's like Superman has to punch something, or he has to have a new power, and he has to explode, and he has to like beat people up, and he has to kind of be stupid when he has all these abilities, and I don't get it. Like that's why I think like people say they love All-Star Superman, but All-Star Superman probably couldn't sustain itself forever because
not at all.
The idea is just like Superman is kind of like talking his way out of stuff, or like beating people for like arm wrestling and making like a birthday present for Lois Lane. They really like, I don't want to see Superman be badass. You know?
Hope I outlive them red roses. 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 Bitches ain't shit but hoes. I been on this. Niggas gon' snitch regardless. Mid shoulders, never gon' switch. My mama raised soldiers. Show me that profit. Cough them Range Rovers up. I'm up now. These hoes all in love now. Wanna fuck now. They beg to bend over. Half these hoes chauffeurs. Half these hoes useless. Fuck a face toothless. Easy so ruthless. Ask where he from, then leave his dome ruthless. Sweet chin music, kick back gruesome. Watch out for Judas Vice and G Unit. 5-0 fucking with the yayo too. LBPD get sprayed on too. Always keep it GC. Ask my homies for the proof. Blowing 40s as a youth. Dump deuce in the Chevy. Hit the corner, run up on him, turn him to get his spaghetti out.
Yeah, and I just thought it was. I think it's a well-made trailer.
Yeah,
but I'm like, this is what you guys wanted. You dick rided Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns so long, and they make it for you with real people, and then you get mad at it.
Yeah, like I'll say that false god thing was like super strong. Like that's probably my favorite part of the trailer. It would be a cool avenue to explore Superman, but like the DC movies are like PS2 games with the brightness turned down at this point, where it's all fog and darkness.
I think that's a Zack Snyder thing.
Yeah,
because all his movies are kind of like that,
and like it's not fun.
I don't know if he makes fun movies.
I feel like he can because he's so good at violence sometimes.
I don't know, dude. I haven't had fun with one of his movies since Dawn of the Dead. So, like,
that was him.
That's me. Like, I have issues with him as a filmmaker. So.
Yeah, no, he's really bad at clarity.
Yeah, and it's just like, I know people like to really rag on DC, but it's like, technically, in terms of this universe stuff, they just made one movie.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people like to say a lot of things. It's like, first of all, they made movies that had nothing to do with superheroes that's adapted from their comics.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honest, ain't nothing nobody's done fucking with the Dark Knight to me. Like, that's a level of like filmmaking that I ain't never seen in a superhero movie ever. And that shit made the Oscars change the rules. It won 2 Oscars. Like I got bored with Marvel movies because I knew everything was going to happen.
Yeah, I got bored because they all look the same.
They do kind of all look the same.
Yeah,
because they have a house style like the comics did back in the 60s.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's good for the business. Especially, it's like I've been listening to like I've been reviewing movies for like 4 or 5 years now, and then I listen to a bunch of podcasts, and then you hear like the producers and like the directors and the screenwriters talk about like, or even actors now is like, well, yeah, you got to do a superhero movie, or you got to sign on to this if you want to do anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sad. Like, you mean you can't make Pulp Fictions now unless like the directors and the actors and the screenwriters make like 4 or 5 superhero movies?
Well, it's almost
like, what is it,
it's been like that for a while though. Like Spike Lee had to make Inside Man, to get money for everything else.
True. But I just think there's a difference between making like a studio picture, and then having to do a studio superhero or / franchise geek movie. Yeah, definitely. Not even just 1 or 2, like multiple.
Yeah, the dude who plays Bucky got like a 9-film contract or something like that.
Yeah.
You got to figure that's the next 20 years of your life. Like, you're not making a movie every year, but, figure every other.
It's at least 10.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, you read about the production of, like, X-Men Days of Future Past, and, like, Michael Fassbender been done with X-Men. He's like, I don't want to do this shit no more.
Yeah.
But he's contractually obliged. But it's just like, would I give up his Magneto so that he can make some other dope movies? Fuck yeah, I would, because I like movies.
Yeah, that's why I don't want, like, people are like, Idris Elba should be James Bond. I'm like, no. Like, never. Because first, like, Bond has got to be kind of sexist and racist. Like, that's in the DNA.
Yeah.
Like, I started reading, I think it was From Russia with Love or one of those. And, like, I made it a paragraph in, and I was like, nah, I'm done. Like, I can't hang with Ian Fleming. Because it was just too racist immediately. But Elba is so much doper than James Bond. Like, that's small thinking.
I know, right? Like, he's already been, like, these characters, like, he's Idris Elba, and he can also, like, play, like, these, like, he's, like, Stringer Bell, like, I'm good.
Yeah.
He's Stringer Bell, he's Luther. He's, like, all these, like, random, like, I watched the Tyler Perry movie because he's in it. I was like, yeah, was it Little Girl, Daddy's Little Girl? I was like, all right, yeah, it got Gabrielle Union and him.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to watch it. Like, I like both of them.
Like, just the sky is the limit for a dude like that. And to make him be, like, Sean Connery the 15th or whatever is just boring.
Yeah, if that's something he wants to do, I'm more powerful, like, do it. But I doubt he would do some crazy shit like sign on to, like, a bunch of them. Because he seems like he has stuff he wants to do.
And he talked about being on Thor 2, like it was just a huge hassle, like it wasn't fun filmmaking.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot from that. Like, if you really look into it, like maybe not the big stars, like, Robert Downey Jr. isn't going to say that.
Yeah.
A bunch of them is going to say that, but sometimes you look at it, like, really look at it, and, like, it doesn't always sound like it's great to, like, do these Marvel movies. Just like sometimes it doesn't sound that great to draw a Marvel comic.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like the same thing, and I don't know if I want that. The film business has its own issues, vast and big. But this, like, I've already seen enough of the comic book issues. I don't know. Let's say I want to, like, make a movie or something. I don't want to deal with the same bullshit. I'd rather deal with new bullshit.
Yeah,
to be quite honest.
Because at least with the new, you got a chance to define your terms a little bit. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. But if you're stepping into, like a Marvel system or the James Bond system, like, there's expectations that you have to deal with. And
it's like relationships that you might have already burned or something. Like, it just gets to be like really? Like, why can't, like, can you have a moment in time like again, the 90s, like, Kevin Smith came out with a movie called Clerks.
Yeah.
Wow, boom. Like, Quentin Tarantino did Reservoir Dogs. Like, all this crazy shit was happening, like, all the time. There was new type of movies popping out. And now it just seems like, besides Fast and the Furious, everything has a connection to something that's like 40 to 50 years old. Like, I love Mission Impossible, but that shit came on when my mom was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, everything. Like, Jurassic Park is like the only thing that's young, maybe.
That's still, 20 years. That changed my life as a kid, and it's weird now. Like, the new one doesn't look as dope as the first one, which is even crazier.
I know, right? That's bananas.
Like, how did the CG get worse? I don't know. I feel like they basically did Jurassic Park 1 on a Nintendo 64. Like, that level of processing power.
Yeah, and like now we got phones that can do like that shit.
Yeah,
and like, how come the Raptors don't look as dope? I guess because they was using puppets too back then.
Yeah,
people don't use puppets no more. But it's just like, damn.
But I like that point about the bridge burning, especially in terms of like being like a person of color or a woman, because like you can burn bridges just by doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst when, you just say something you think is innocuous and people are like, oh, she's the angry one. He's the dick, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You become a villain through like no other,
because it's
like no reaction.
Like I totally have that rep in comics to a few people just because like I'll speak on some racial stuff when need be. But then they meet me and they're like, this dude just likes like dad jokes and rap music. Like what happened? What's the difference? And it's all perception. Weird
idea of you.
Yeah. Somebody, when I was living with Laura Hudson for a while, she was living down here in Oakland. And somebody asked her if living with me was like being at a Black Panther rally all the time. And like I laughed at first, but later I was like, hang on. Like what type of, but like people are just not knowing. Like
what does that mean?
Yeah. Like I'm marching through the apartment. It's like, no, I play video games and eat pound cake. Like life is good.
It's like that's
totally that thing. Like that, I feel like that holds us back a lot because like I could say something to you and on a 1-to-1 level, like we'll get it because we got that shared experience.
Yeah.
But somebody listening in will be like, oh, I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? And there's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, like you don't know, like it's funny, like existing gets them in their feelings.
Yeah.
But like if like someone actually does something wrong and you get in your feelings, you're attacked for it.
Like Black Lives Matter. There's this cat I follow named the Shrillest on Twitter, and he's really smart. Like he follows a lot of politics stuff. But he was like, it's crazy that Black Lives Matter gets as much hate as it does because it's not even like only Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter most. It's just like we count too.
It matter at all.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Like when you have to wake up at least once a week and see a black person get shot.
Yeah, like I'm
die.
Through. Like 2014 was so hard, and this year, like. I started this year with a funeral and it's just been nonstop ever since. And it's like, how am I supposed to, like, I can't really step and fetch for y'all all the time. Like, I gotta have some emotion sometimes.
Yeah. 2014, I think, pushed me to be like more pro-black than before. More militant than before. Like,
I went out and bought an African medallion and wore that to City, dog. Like, I'm not even... I'm 100% back on that Afrocentric tip now.
I'm on some, like, sometimes it's like, I'm just not even going to talk about things because if I really talk about things, you're going to think I'm a terrorist. So I'm just going to go sit back. Like, I'm just going to fall back. But, like, seeing people that look like you, and now, like, I'm 35.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where it's like, not only I'm seeing people that's younger than me die, or people that like legitimately, even if I had a kid mad early, some of these kids, like, Tamir Rice could be my seed.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even be crazy that I had a kid at like 23. And it's not even crazy.
Like it has me, honestly, like I had a moment, I can't even remember who it was who had died. It wasn't the guy where they planted the evidence, but it was another where there was like video of it and, the cops were caught in a lie. And I was just like, I can't have kids. Like, I don't want to, I'm so paranoid and so down about this stuff that I can't think of putting somebody else through that.
I know. It's like, it's like a certain set of like fears and it's like this weird concept. I always felt that like our generation, was literally reliving the entirety of the 20th century in a short time span. Because, like, we had the Depression, we've had an attack on our soil, we've had, like, the Vietnam War, World War II, the Korean War, like, all that shit in, like, one set of war, like, one war.
Yeah.
And, like, the Cold War has returned, the Civil Rights Movement... like we're literally going like almost like the feminist movement, the gay, like we're having the entirety of 100 years within like 15.
Yeah.
And it's it's like our grandparents got to have like decades to like work themselves through this shit. We got to work through this shit like once a week.
Yeah. And it's all, excuse me, like the internet makes things faster. Like before, you know, somebody got lynched in Tennessee, you would find out about it on the radio a couple days later.
Or it maybe not at all, like depending on where you are.
But now you just turn on Twitter and like I carefully follow people, like my account's private and all that, and I'm still like flooded just every day.
Yeah, because it's like you can't help it because like all right, I'm on Twitter. I ain't gonna lie. I see like, oh, yo, another one of my niggas is dead. Like, I want to retweet that for my people to know because, like, you're in the West Coast. Is it saddening? Yes, but it's just like, yo, we kind of got to know where we stand.
Yeah, you got to stay aware because, like, after last week, actually, I was coming home from work. It was like a Wednesday. It was real late, and that video of the cop with the taser had come out. Excuse me. And, like, I could tell. I stepped outside of my office in Berkeley. And there were like 3 cop cars on the block right there. Because I work in downtown Berkeley and there's protests and whatnot. And then I catch a bus home and like even on my block in this little like fake suburbs, just like cops just strategically placed. And I'm like, you know, I was in, you know, a black hoodie, the usual, you know, it's like kind of chilly outside or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I need to watch what I'm doing because even though I might not be a target, I might look like a target.
Yeah.
And I'm not too inclined to be, you know, like, hey, kid, where you going? Like, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm a grown-ass man.
I know. Like, we're still dealing with basically, like, the hey, kid shit is like, or it's like being called boy.
Yeah.
Like for real? Like, it's like, it's 2015. Like, when Selma came out, I saw it with a friend. It was just like, it's sad to be like, that we're literally going through the same shit like our grandparents went through.
Yeah. Like
in a certain way, like our parents really didn't go through it because it was different or it was like that weird period.
Well, they had crack to deal with.
They had, and to be quite honest, I'm old enough. We had crack too.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like if I'm definitely one of those like, oh, cocaine's at this party. I'll catch y'all later. I'm not sticking around for this shit. Like I can't.
It's weird to talk about cocaine and crack or drugs because it's just like, black kids younger than us, it puts you in a weird predicament because it's like you're singing about this, and I know crack ain't really big right now like it was.
That too.
Like you have no idea what 1988 was like. Like, that shit was wild. Like, 85 to like 92 was insane.
Yeah.
Like you could die over nothing all the time. And so it's like when I see the song, and like even like I ain't gonna lie, some of the beats is dope. I feel it. The song's like I'm in love with the Coco. Like that's a great hook. Like I ain't gonna lie, but it's just like y'all ain't whipping it like that. There's new drugs out there.
Yeah.
Sing about that.
I remember in, 2005 or 2006 on Niggas Lie a Lot, that Kweli song. He was like, I know you're lying because crack is cheap now.
Oh, my God. Yes.
It's 10 years ago. Like, there's no new market for crack out there.
Like it was funny because I'm like a drug news or like drug war like nerd. Like I like to look that shit up. It's like, yo, in 2005, heroin was popping off. Like, because I remember 50 did this song like a Baltimore Love thing. It was about like heroin in Baltimore, which you can see in The Wire, to be quite honest, because that's how real as fuck that show was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yo, heroin was smacking back. So it's just like, y'all ain't like crack ain't that big. Like weed is popping off. Like coke is always coke, but like crack ain't really like it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to see like drug use as a person that's like quote unquote, you know, people call me straight edge. I just don't do shit. Like I don't drink. I don't do drugs or nothing. It's just weird to see people use it. It's weird to see other people's views on it through like our culture. Because I still think like, yeah, you can make those songs. Like, yeah, you might not be telling your stories, or maybe you are. Like, I ain't in Atlanta like that. Maybe you're just popping off like that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're telling your older brother stories, or maybe you're doing a bunch of things. And you should be able to do that. Like, if rock and roll music could talk about being sad or wilding out and, like, falling in love or just getting high all the time, you should be able to tell stories about the issues of selling drugs. Like,
yeah.
But it's weird how it gets consumed and, like, brought back onto us in the information age where it's, like, Frontline will do episodes about that, and you can learn so much about what actually happened, or like it's amazing to me that like Rick Ross as a rapper could be so famous and to be like, and like the actual story of Free Ray Ricky Ross not be known when there's like specials and he has a Twitter account and there's books and like you don't know the CIA was part of cocaine in the Iran-Contra conflict. And like how do you not know? Like,
what's crazy is like that sounds so paranoid, but it's also true. And that's kind of like it's like a realization I'm starting to have is that like, it's like if somebody could give you paranoia. Because even like outside of the CIA thing, like just, does this person hate me because I'm black? Or like, did that lady speed up because I'm a black dude walking behind her at night? Like, you got to ask yourself that just to stay safe, but also so you can, like, exist in society. And I think that a lot of people, they don't understand that experience.
Yeah, or like black women having to always deal with being thought of as being angry.
Yeah.
Or like all these things that are put upon them and the stuff that's put upon us. It's just like, I knew I grew up weird when I think about it. I grew up in PG County and the DC area. Mm-hmm. I grew up around 95% black people. Black people that was working class to having money. I thought as a kid, like, white people were on TV and in the doctor's office. Mm-hmm. That's it. I didn't have to go to school with a white person until I was in middle school, and they were still minority. I didn't have to deal with the whole concept of being a minority truthfully until I was like in college. And like even later on, I was in Brooklyn. Like, I was around black people. I was in the damn neighborhood of Biggie Smalls grew up. Like, it was still mostly black in that part. So like when I came back, when I got into comics, when I started going to comic book stores and going to comic conventions, the whole issue of being like the cool black person, or the one that like is different than the other black people, or the like, hey, Julian, explain this for me, or like, and sometimes I don't know how to turn it off because I just like explaining things. Like I explain Saved by the Bell, like I explain this. So sometimes like when random white person doesn't understand what the fuck Young Thug is saying, I just go into like explaining mode.
Yeah.
But then I come back and think it's like, am I caught apart? Am I like, what am I doing here? Like, why do they feel so comfortable with that and not X person? Mm-hmm. Like, why am I seen as cool? Or why am I seen as safe? Like, I now kind of like shun away from like white women walking down the street. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, oh man, I can't feel safe walking around that. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
I'm always, like, I do so many shows and stuff at this point just because of my job. And I'm always careful who I'm hanging around with. Because I've been to a lot of comic book parties, and 90% of them I've gone to, somebody has said something suspect to me. Either where it's just like an ignorant question, or like, you know how people go out of their way to say nigger to black people, but like structure it in a way to where like you can't get mad? Or like if you do get mad, they can turn it back on you like, oh, it was just a question. Like a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah, I must say, I've had the pleasure of not dealing with that.
Oh, man.
I don't know if it's my face that looks like I wish a motherfucker would face. Or like, oh, maybe Julian's cool, but he's just scary enough he might smack the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But no, like I've never had the white person like, I've had white-ish people, i.e. they're Latino, grew up in the hood, and their fair skin say nigga. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you Spanish as fuck. I knew you grew up around black people and other Latinos and some questionable situations. Yeah, I give you a pass. But regular, out of the blue.
It's crazy, man. Like, I can't even explain it. because I don't know like what vibe I'm giving off, but like if someone uses it in a book, they're like, "Oh, what did you think about when blah blah said?" And then like they'll drop their voice. You know what I mean? Like that. Like I just had enough. Like if you.
Oh my god! Like I've literally thought about like in the next comic I do, if like that I'm going to write characters saying "nigga," and then how I'm going to deal with that.
It's like it drives me crazy. And if you look at me at shows now, like I don't really do the bar thing. Like if I'm in the bar, I'm in the side of the bar where all my friends are, and we're like the United Nations over there, basically.
Like wow, that's I've never had like I don't know how I would feel like because I think the last time I was at a con and I went to a party that was a con party. Yeah, I was with you. It was San Diego.
Oh yeah,
that's when I met Chunk, and that's when I met a whole bunch of people, and all them people was cool.
Yeah, Chunk's a cool dude, especially.
Yeah, so it was all love.
And that's like years of me selecting friends and being like, I can't hang out with that guy.
Yeah. And it's like, then like when I'm in New York Comic Con, since I'm in New York, that's like my college town. Mm-hmm. I kind of leave and go hang with the college homies. So it's just like, I'm not even around comic people like that no more after a certain time. Yeah. I don't know what I would do.
It's always
I would
like
be the villain.
You have that moment where you're like, can I black out here, or will that make me the bad guy? Because that's the other trick. Like that's the ultimate okie doke. Is that if you respond to to something suspect with like equal force, you're the villain.
Yeah.
Like they want you to be like a suffering Negro.
Yeah, I think I've gotten to the age that when I do come back out, that like when I had to talk with Ulysses, I think I'm going to purposely be the villain. Like, like you know what? Somebody has to be Lex Luthor. Somebody has to be Ric Flair. Somebody has to be like there's no bag. Like somebody has to be like as you tweeted about. Somebody has to be Malcolm X and Selma. Like somebody has to be like
that blew my mind.
Like somebody got to take that L and be like the fucking bad guy. Like. The one that they're afraid of. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're already afraid of everybody. Like, that's the trouble. Like, with the civil rights thing, you had people who were on your side who had power. But, like, with comics, like, people like the status quo. It's like people will be on your side, but I've been having the same Black History conversation since 2008.
Yeah. Yeah. You wrote some good posts, too. But yeah, like... the same people talk about the same things, and sometimes people get angrier. Like, like I read Daryl on Twitter, and he just seems to get even angrier
because we were just going around the mulberry bush. Like that's why I'm kind of like I'm like low key taking this year off from writing for myself. Like if somebody wants me to write for them, I'll do it, but I'm not really writing on my own just because like I got to figure this out. Like I can't keep punching the same stone wall
because there ain't no hole breaking through. Yeah. It's just like. It's like I'm like you're trapped. It's like how did we get here?
That new Kendrick album was really good to me. Like there's just like stuff will stick in your mind from a song. That line about misusing your influence, like it's not even in a song, but like just like the thought of that.
Yeah, so that's like one of the main themes of the album. Like him. It's interesting at this place because, like, I'm older than him. Yeah. But I can relate to, like, what he's going through.
I could totally see where he's coming from, even with the respectability stuff.
And I don't even have... Yeah, because then to a certain degree, it's like, I'm older than you, but I'm... It's like when Azalea Banks came out about the video, the Hot 97 video interview, it's like part of me feels sad because it's like, maybe like it's like I don't feel like I did enough. Like maybe you shouldn't be going through this at 25 or 26. Like I'm almost 10 years older than you. Like some shit should have changed and shit got worse. Like what the fuck happened? Like and his album is so great because it's like unabashedly black dealing with the current struggle.
Yeah,
like,
it's so contradictory and I love it.
It's like I didn't like the single, But on the album is my shit.
Yeah, it's super powerful.
It's like live, and then he goes into like, yeah, I knew about the niggas thing.
Yeah.
Like, I openly use nigga all the time. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, ain't no old black person telling me I can't use it. Ain't no white person telling me I can't use it. I say my niggas regularly.
Yeah.
And just to hear is like people don't know enough, and when you start researching and start reading and start looking in language and how things get changed and how things get used and the way things get flipped, and you start becoming aware of shit, like you start becoming more, I don't even know about rebellious, but straight up militant. Like, you get to a point where it's like, y'all motherfuckers can't tell me shit.
Yeah.
Like, I know more than you on certain subjects. Like, don't even come at me. And that album, you know what, for real, I think in terms of rap music, there's this level of the young artists, even when they're like pro-conscious, like neo-conscious, like a Kendrick Lamar or a J. Cole, or even what you could maybe call a more shallow artist, and I use that by the way people react to them, like a Drake or Big Sean. There's an undercurrent through the beats and the rhymes of even when they wrap up with their success, it's sad.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's like I found a trend. I felt like Joey Badass, Lupe, Earl, Kendrick, Pharoah Monch, D'Angelo, like a couple other cats, all made like Black Condition albums in the past year.
Yeah.
And Rihanna's new single, American Oxygen, is like dope. But it's straight up like, America, we got to get this stuff together. And the video it's pairing like America Now and America Then with civil rights and all that. And it's, it's the same story. And it's like, what happened? Like you said earlier, like, how did we get here again?
Like how did we fuck up? Like, what happened? How did we end up into this game as it is? How do we fix it? Can we, like, it asks you all these weird questions, because it's like the turning point for all this shit, even though a lot of bad stuff happened in the Bush era, in the GW Bush era, like, the housing crisis and money and people spending stuff and like us going to college and getting in college debt and all like I wouldn't say that these lies, but these promises and hopes and dreams of the 90s brought on by the 80s that led to this weird thing that, like, when Barack Obama became officially the president of the United States, the smackback of like society is so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he won. Y'all thought some of y'all don't fuck with it, and some of y'all thought this shit was over, like from like mainstream white America, like the younger generations, like, we elected a black president. It's over. Racism is over. And it's like, you're bugging.
Yeah.
you don't know anything. The school system's fucking failed you, because those older white people was like, fuck that shit. And some of them just don't know how they feel about anything. Like, everything got so bad, and then like there's a black guy running things, and what is happening to like my pensions, and that shit is gone, or I don't get a pension. Like, it seems like, and it's like, it's compacting on like the black creative experience. And I guess for me to watch it and to like watch so many things, it's like, we're going through the same shit that happened with rock and roll in the information age. So it's just like, what if Little Richard had Twitter? Like, we used to make jokes about how Little Richard's like, I made all this shit up. I did this, blah, blah, blah. And then when you really look at it, it's like, yo, he's not totally fucking lying. But what if he had Twitter? Like, that's Azalea Banks' interview to me.
Yeah.
It's like, Little Richard, if he was on YouTube, like, they're jacking us of our shit. Like, right the fuck now as we watch it, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, was it Amanda I can't say her last name correctly, but Rue and Hunger Games put out this video that's amazing. It's like, this like she's a little girl. Like, yeah, she's old enough. She's like 16 or something. Like, I'm 35. Like, it's older than my kid. Like, she's this little girl and she's going through this stuff, and it makes me sad.
It really does.
It makes me sad.
Especially like in comics, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or whatever, like, 'cause, like, I don't really have any power, but like I've got a megaphone that a lot of black people don't have in comics just because of my position. Like, by the end of this coming weekend, I've done 16 panels in 3 or 4 cities, and that's just like the end of April, like for this year. It's like I'm really visible, and like I think a lot about how I can help. Like, what can I do? What can I do to make things better? And it's tough. Like, I honestly have no idea because everything I try doesn't work. Like, this inertia is so real.
And it's like, how do you fight? Like, how do you snap back? How do you make that place?
Yeah.
Like, how do we make a new milestone?
And how do you make it so that it sticks? Like, how do you educate an audience that's been trained to like one thing?
And like, how do I bring like an audience that's never been served or doesn't know
or doesn't trust?
Like, these younger people is like, they don't not know, like they're not going to go to the comic book store because there's no comic book stores in their area.
Yeah.
And it was like when I made up Long Boxes on 22s with my friend Sean, who for some viewers some listeners might not know, is a white dude, my homie. We were like, yo, we love rap music. Mm-hmm. We love comic books. Like, all this shit ties together so perfectly. But it's like, I go to these conventions and I see people like me and I see nothing for them. And it's just like, I got so tired of seeing like people drawing like comic book characters as like Kiss or like rock and roll artists. And it's like
we're part of the culture
like,
too. Like,
and it's like rock and roll ain't even selling units like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're living in the past. Like, it's not 1987. Guns N' Roses doesn't exist anymore. like Nirvana isn't out. Like, it's rap music. And it's been rap music for a long, long time.
Definitely.
And it's like, I gotta make this shit for them. Like,
and that's one of those things. Like, growing up, if somebody drew good black people, I would assume they were black. Like, that's how bad it was.
Oh yeah.
Like Richard Corbin, Kari Andrews, even recently, like Joelle Jones. I was like, no, she's got to be black. But no, it's like I was just starved for that attention that I was, struggling to make connections. And that's what happens when you serve only one culture. Like, you shut people out implicitly.
Yeah. I've noticed a level of the beauty of Tumblr and Instagram is the level and the amount of female artists you can see and their ability to draw so many different types of people different type of settings, different looks, different ideas, and it comes across like they just know what they're doing. And I love the fact that like there's this undercurrent. And you know what? Even right now, like when I go to SPX, it is overwhelmingly white and liberal. But the key component is that it's overwhelmingly female. And I don't have the same feeling of like judgment or like weird looks. It's like they're just happy to get their shit. Like they have a place.
Yeah.
And they're not being treated in a like weird way, because it's my issue with cons is just like, yeah, like y'all people with like nothing against cosplayers. I want cosplayers to do them, but not everybody who's taking your picture has the right intent.
Yeah,
or hugging up on you or getting close got the right intent. And it's like I don't go to like anime conventions because it's like I feel uncomfortable around all these kids dressed half butt naked.
Yeah, and there's too many like Nazi cosplayers of those things too.
Oh, I see. I wouldn't even know because I don't go.
I went once and I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah, that's just weird. But it's it's just I know it's a level of freedom. Like when I'm in the like independent shows for the female creators, and I see them of all types.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like yeah, they're white, but they might be punk. They're like lesbian. There's black. There's Asian.
Gothic Lolita, even.
It's just all that stuff, and they just making books, zines, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, y'all doing fire. Like I'll support this.
Yeah.
So it's just, they find their place. I just don't know if like black people found their spot yet.
It doesn't feel like it. But I mean, like if you look at the New York Times, like for the bestseller list for graphic novels, Raina Telgemeier has been on top of that for like 2 years, 3 years, single-handedly.
What is her book? What is her book?
She does smile and drama for, I think it was Random House or Scholastic, one of those. But it sells to kids and teens.
That's crazy.
Like it's not even comic shops.
That book market down the low.
Like she beats The Walking Dead and Watchmen.
Hey, to me, that's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like, I feel like that's where the future is going to come from, is particularly women right now, but just like people doing their own thing and connecting with people who aren't going to be served by, you know, the things we have in place already.
Yeah, like I try to, like when I meet younger artists, especially young female artists, I try to give them like all the encouragement in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even with my current feelings on the business and the game.
Like I'll be real, but I'll say like, we need you even still. Yeah, like please stick around.
Fight that fight.
Yeah.
Like, go out there, kick people's in the chest. Like go out there. Like that voice needs to be out there. That voice needs to be seen. Like, you know, to go back to some of the stuff we talked about earlier, like the whole thing was like Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? The design, like, it's like everybody working on that. Their goal is to make something like that's current
and cosplayable,
and that fits like it feels like real life. Like, yeah, she uses her phone. Yeah, she's on Instagram. Like, yeah, she texts. Like, yeah, she gets an Uber. Like, yeah, like she fights villains and like. So yeah, I ain't gonna lie. When I saw the cover with the Joker thing, I felt some type of way because I never really fucked with the Killing Joke to begin with.
Yeah,
and like when you read the story about like when like Alamo asked like, yeah, can I cripple?
Yeah, that's so
Gordon?
cold.
And it was like cripple the bitch, Like if you know more, you know about the sausage, like how the things is prepared. It's like why should I even rock with it?
Yeah.
Like you never cared about Batgirl fans to begin with, because she was on a TV show. That's how I got the Batgirl
introduction too.
She had her own home base. She had a motorcycle. I'm like, yo, Batgirl is the truth. So when I saw that cover, I was like, that shit is. And I even, like, I get the artist, like, he fucks with that story. He wanted to draw, like, an image, and they made him draw even more.
Yeah, it's not
sinister.
even a bad drawing, I don't think. It's just the context around it, again, is what's...
It's just like...
It's too much.
It's like, yo, like, all the other covers got Joker looking silly or getting his ass beat. Mm-hmm. With the exception of the another Batman cover, which they're referencing him killing Robin. Another issue I have, like... I never liked that shit either. So it's just like, and then you get into these online debates, which I sometimes willingly go into, because it just seems I see just like a bunch of people just going at people, saying that they're wrong, or talking about social justice warriors, or all this other bullshit, and there's nobody there just snapping back or fighting that. Like I'll take the hits. Like I'm big enough. Like I'm alright. Like, I know none of these people will say crazy shit to my face. Because they ain't, they ain't about that life.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I come across as like some tough guy, gangster, a thug. But I just know it's like, yo, you in comics. You ain't about, you a fandom. You a geek. You ain't really, really about that life. I've seen all the friends that I knew that was about that life that used to read comics. They don't read comics no more. They stopped when I was a kid because they was about that life, and that shit is not fun. So it's just like, I know you ain't about this. You talking big on Facebook, like, and you don't care about anybody else but your like fandom.
It's short-sighted. Like that's what all this comes down to. Like just not seeing the opportunities that we have right here because you want to stick with, whatever you had 10 years ago.
It shows like a lack of empathy.
Yeah.
Like, what would you feel like if this was like you? And I don't think they could ever see that point. Because I think their love of the character, their love of superheroes clouds everything else. Mm-hmm. And that's what I don't get. Because I don't love nothing enough more than me. Mm-hmm. Or more than my people.
But I think that, like you were saying earlier, how you never had like that bullying experience, where I'm in the same boat. And it seems like that I feel like if you're pushed around for something, it'll come to define you in a way, because you'll justify it to yourself. Like, they just hate me because I'm into blah, blah, blah. Then, like, by default, you're going to be more into whatever that is, just as a way to not let the bullies win. But, like, when it gets to the point where it's defining your personality and, like, yourself, like, I feel like that's too far. Like, you shouldn't, like, I don't care if somebody's like, oh, One Piece is stupid. Like, cool, you don't like it. Like, that's no skin off my back. I still get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, if you diss Hal Jordan, dudes come crawling out of the woodwork to defend bomber jackets. And that's just like, come on. It's just comic books.
Yeah, it's superhero comics. Like, it'd be all right. Like, the character would be fine.
Yeah.
It's not even human being. But it's just like, I just get into certain things, like certain ideas. I start thinking about ideas and stories, and I see how certain things permeate. Like, I read a Time article about how Iraqi soldiers is rocking the Punisher symbol when they fight Islamic State.
Oh, yeah, that makes me so uncomfortable.
Like, it makes it uncomfortable on like a whole bunch of levels, but in a certain way I kind of get it. And that just shows to me the power of the idea of the Punisher. Like,
oh, look at the intro to Big Pun's album, where it's the kid and the kid's like, I'm the Punisher, the X-Men, and the Punisher knocks down the X-Men, Spider-Man, everybody, because the Punisher's a real ass dude. Yeah.
It's just like, it's like that idea, like certain ideas are very strong.
Yeah.
And then they push certain ideas, I think, in a weird fantasy way that, like, stories are so important to human existence that they don't understand it. Like, somebody else could take this shit and, like, do actual things with it. It's like, I like, as much as I love The Dark Knight, there was a weird period which people was really rocking the Joker shit. And I always worried about that one point where it would go too far. And it kind of did, because a dude shot up a goddamn movie theater thinking he's a fucking Joker. Like that idea is strong. Like, even hell, like what Jack Nicholson said, like, yo, going to that place to play the Joker is a really dangerous place to go to on some method acting shit. It's just like certain ideas I think is strong. And people don't understand how strong some of these things are. Like, we still talk about Achilles. We still talk about, like, depending on how you feel, like, some people believe in certain religions, but in a lot of ways, there's stories to teach you about life and how to proceed within life. So, yeah, certain people believe word for word exactly the Bible. I'm not knocking it. Those are strong-ass ideas. And I don't think everybody talking about these stories or these comic book characters kind of get how they can be shifted and used. And when they tell these stories, when these characters do these things, it's like, maybe you should just put the right ones out there to how you want to see society to go and be. Like, I fucks with Optimus Prime, but he doesn't, like, cartoon Optimus Prime doesn't really kill anybody. He, like, protects the good and protects humans and turns into a truck, and it's all good.
Yeah, somebody, do you know John Sway? He writes Run, Love, Kill with Eric Kennedy.
I want to read that. I don't know him, but I want to read it.
But I had him on a panel, and he mentioned that he grew up mostly on, cartoons and stuff, but, like, there's always a message in them. And he broke Transformers down like it's about conservation and coexisting. Because, like, the Decepticons come to Earth, they just see the natural resources. They're like, we just want to profit and, get Energon or whatever. And the Autobots, they need it too, but they're like, we're going to coexist with humans and find, like, a peaceful, diplomatic way to do this. And so, like, this, dumb kid show is about something deeper on the inside. Like, there's a message in there.
Yeah, see, I never saw it that way.
Yeah.
That is a really strong... That's a really strong idea.
Yeah.
And it's there. Like, when you really look at it, it's there.
100%. And that's the sort of thing, like the subtext. Like, you gotta stay tuned for that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. It's my problem is that I think sometimes the superhero comics don't always have the. I don't know if they always think about the subtext, or if the subtext they're putting out is always, if it's nourishing food. Like, it's not always nourishment, because like, especially like when I watch cartoons now, I think the young, since they grew up off so many cartoons, they get it. Like, the young cartoonists get it. Like, when I watch Adventure Time, people say it's just a silly cartoon. It's like, you're not really watching it, because it's like they're dealing with a lot of deep ideas, and it's still palpable for a child.
Yeah.
And like Steven Universe is dealing with like a lot of great things about human relationships and like love, and like love in general. Like, they just do it well, and it's not heavy handed. It's just like, it's like Mary Poppins. It's like that sugar in the medicine. Like,
yeah.
And you get everything you're supposed to get out of it. It's just sometimes when I read certain comics, it's like I'm not getting the right stuff out of it.
Yeah.
Like, when they rebooted the DC universe, I had no heart.
And it had just one tone, which is not the point. Like, you want balance. Like, as much as I love like ignorant rap, I was just watching that Alt Gold Everything video the other day. You got to balance that with something else.
Yeah.
And in comics, like, we're getting Cape comics made for people who used to read Cape comics and probably still do. And then a bunch of other stuff. And it's like, I feel like Image is really blowing up because people realize they want more than just like Spider-Man versus Venom. You know, same with Dark Horse and Oni and all these other companies. So it's just a matter of like proving to people that this is viable. Like, I Kill Giants is one of the best comics of like the past like 10 years. Like, that book is super hard, and it's just about grief, and that's it. It's just well done.
I still never finished that. I need to copy it. I stopped buying paper. It looks good. Like, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's just like everybody I know just cries reading that book because it's that real. Like, it's that human connection.
Think it's a game.
Walked in, 30,000 in my pocket, had them niggas just like, ooh. $50,000 on your bill, wanna fuck me, gotta screaming like, ooh. Cause I got a check, nigga wanna flip, I ain't got a flip, but I got it, ooh. Get that on some mix, she gon' wanna sit, every nigga in the set, now she screaming like, ooh. How much you made? Made $2 million off of me, tell you ain't no fucking like, ooh. They try to drop me with a case, but you know I hadn't skated, I was singing like, ooh. I swear, nigga, boy, I know my role.
Yeah, see, that's I think Image is really great because it's bringing in a lot of people that didn't mess with comics or coming from different type of comics.
Yeah.
And like all the energy that Vertigo used to have, and they don't because the whole Karen Berger situation. They were able to like, Image is right there, and they have these really cool expos in which they announce all these cool comics. So I know what's coming out.
Yeah.
And I want to try that. And they go try it. Like, The Wicked and the Divine isn't for me because it's a little bit still too Britpop for me.
Yeah.
But it's a well-made comic book. It has some really interesting ideas in it about fame, celebrity, like lives and loves and all. Like, it's good. It's solid. I see why it's successful. I see why Saga's successful. Like, I get these books, and there's so many other new books. They're not all for me, but that's great because there's such a breath coming out of Image. I'm not going to lie. I do not totally understand the fact that only one person picks all the books, but
that's the thing. Like, I feel like we're in a really good place where we can, like, I'm trying to get stuff like behind the scenes into place too, to where we can kind of change the industry, like bit by change the fan base, I should say, and through that change the industry. Just because, like, if we can dictate what's cool, then like we can put on some crazy stuff to people who otherwise would never hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought that the type of marketing that's used in mainstream in comics in general is lacking, and I think that's because I grew up with hip hop.
Yeah,
like the nature of marketing and getting yourself out there, or just using different avenues to get your stuff in front of people.
Yeah, like
it's always forefront.
Like, what do juxtapose readers like? What kind of comics do they like? You know what I mean?
I know. And how come no one reaches out to Juxtapose and High Fructose? I see them at every San Diego Comic Con I've been to.
Yeah.
So they're there. How come no one partners with them?
That's what I'm about. Like, Complex will run comic stuff, but like, where's the comics for that Complex audience?
Yeah, like, and how come no one really... It seems like Complex would be really receptive to, like, doing stuff.
Yeah.
Who's not hollering at Complex? Like, Mark Echo is famously known to being a comic book geek.
Yeah.
That's his company. Like, all the people who tweet about all this other geeky shit all the time. Holler at them. Like, what about Life and Times? What about Two Dope Boys? What about Fader? Like,
oh, you want to know something crazy? Combat Jack's, he had that video show for a hot minute.
Yes.
He was wearing a Nowhere Man t-shirt in that. The Science is the New Rock and Roll.
Oh, word.
And like, he just saw the shirt somewhere. Yeah, like he just picked it up. Like, that's the sort of thing that, like, if there wasn't someone like me or you in the industry watching for it, people wouldn't notice because it's out of their range. Like, they're not checking for that.
Like, I was blown when Combat Jack told me on Twitter he followed Long Boxes on 22s on Tumblr. I was like, whoa. Yeah. And like, they all knew about it. And I was like, okay. Like, that lets me know something. Or like when Kenny Kyle put up the like 2 Chainz holding that picture, this version of like the Fantastic Four he drew with like 2 Chainz as Human Torch.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so fucking dope. like people don't understand. Like,
that's all diversity is. It's like just different people sharing different things. Like, fundamentally, like if me and you sit down together, we're like, what books are you into right now? Like, that's diversity because we have different thoughts and different interests and different goals. So what I'm into might not be what you're into, but together we might find something super hot, like common ground.
Yeah. And I think that's how culture grows and that's how culture spreads.
Yeah.
It's the common ground, man. It's just, I just wish there was a little bit more of that in comics, and I think it's interesting that we can, I guess, do these things, through social media and through podcasts and everything. That's how we have to talk about it, because I don't know if the system in place wants to deal with it, and I don't know if the press, quote unquote press, and the way they handle it wants to really talk about it that much.
Because it's like, I don't want to compare oppression, so I'm going to try to phrase it carefully, but the women in comics argument might be a little bit easier because it's something that we're more used to. Like, we've been having the feminism conversation for a very long time in a very public way, in a way that we haven't with the race conversation, like as a nation, not as like an industry. So when women say, like, here's how we were oppressed and why, and like, we know where to go, we know how to get to step 2. But with the race thing, a lot of times it feels like even more, not more, but like differently fraught than the feminism conversation. Like, there's different issues that hold us back with it, and we're not ready to tackle those yet. Like,
I agree.
Like, there's no talk of reparations for women, even though like every man alive really owes a lot of women a lot of things.
Yeah. So I think especially within comics, like, race is such a hot button issue. And I think comics is very liberal.
Yeah.
And I think the current nature of liberalism has this feeling that they're not prejudiced. And they say, well, we're not racist. And you don't understand that, like, racism is a system.
Yeah.
And we live within said system,
like, black
without
people
actively participating about it. Yeah, like, we can't. it's the system, and we can't just, like, it's not just saying like I'm not racist and the system goes away. It's there.
Yeah, like you got to show and prove. It takes effort. Like even for me, like as a man, like I'm so grateful for the various women in my life, both in real life and that I know on the internet, because they keep me in check. Like there's so much that I just like internalized as a kid that I had to unlearn, that I'm still unlearning. And that would never happen if I wasn't, if they weren't present, and second, if I wasn't open to it.
Oh yeah, like I stay around women purposely.
Yeah.
I listen to them. I hear the stories. Like I try to check everything I do in my head before I say it or do it. And sometimes I fail.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm around a bunch of dudes and I fail. But I know I'm failing. Like later I was like, I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should have said this.
Or you put two and two together later and realize that like you thought you were on point, but you weren't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I know how to check my privilege, as they say now.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's a hard lesson to learn, because like fundamentally it's about accepting something greater than yourself. Like it's kind of like killing your ego for the benefit of somebody else.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how to take an L.
Yeah.
You know, they want to win so much, they don't know how to take that L.
But that's super American too. Like I was talking the other day about how like Americans believe in winning, because it's like that cowboy John Wayne thing. Like you come to town, there's a bad guy, you shoot him, you know, problem solved. But that's not realistic anymore.
Nah,
like real life is asymmetrical now.
Yeah, is that person that you just shot really a bad guy?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to come in here and just change everything?
Or even
that person might not be a bad
is
guy.
Violence even the answer, even if he is a bad guy?
Yeah, was it with his conversation? Like,
yeah.
An agreement. Like, there's a whole bunch of ways to win, and people just think it was the most black and white or basic of winning.
Yeah, like I go through phases with writing about race stuff. I'm at a point now where I'm like, I'm not really interested in, well, no, I'll point out somebody else's racism, but I'm not going to dedicate a lot of like manpower to it, because it's the system. Like the dude is just a symptom of a problem. Like I'm trying to kill a squad instead of just like one dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point? Like, one dude learns that he was a dick one time. Like, how does that make anybody's life better but the people that he's about to meet?
Yeah, like, what about the system or the crew?
Yeah.
That made it possible for him to be a dick all the time.
Exactly. And I just, like, I know I can't fix it, but I want to so bad. Like, I put so much time and effort into it that I feel like I got a responsibility just because of where I am. But it
goes back to that K-Dot thing, that influence. You got to make sure like what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, because like as much as I want to give up sometimes, like that's not a good message to send. Yeah, because everybody I looked up to didn't. But like I got faith that things are getting better and better, but not necessarily like in the Marvel and DC way, like the mainstream comics way. But there are people putting out comics now that are just straight fire who've never read like a Spider-Man comic. Like they grew up on Rumiko Takahashi or somebody.
Yeah, the influence is it's interesting to see that we're getting to the age of the 90s. People not only being adults, but being of that prime age of like late 20s to like early 30s, where like all the influences was when like anime exploded. Mm-hmm. Video games took it to another level, and there's a whole period of time in which the biggest pop culture that everyone took in all came from Japan. Mm-hmm. Like every Nintendo game that was that made something was Japanese. Yeah. Every Genesis game, every PlayStation game, all the cartoons, like everything came from Japan.
And like we don't get Frank Miller without Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh yeah,
like that's the beauty of sharing, is that when people start remixing things or like learning things, that's when things get crazy. I was talking to Justin Greenwood. He draws The Fuse and Stumptown. We were taking a plane back from Emerald City together. I was just showing him Bleach chapter pages on my iPad because I saved like 100 of those things for a post. And he was like, I could see like comics expanding in his head. Like his mind was blown because nobody really does stuff like that in comics.
Like that. I read Bleach every goddamn week.
Yeah.
The way he's ending the story is making no sense to me. That being said, his page layout game is probably the best in all of comicdom of the last 10, 15 years. Like,
it's crazy.
He's a fucking genius at that shit. I look at it as like the layouts, the way he uses the kanji for the sound effects. He makes it a part of the page. It's just like no one's fucking with Kubo on this shit.
Yeah.
At all. I don't even care how it ends. I don't care if it makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like this whole ending is a victory lap where like everybody gets one last moment in the sun, but like that's supposed to come after you're done, like an epilogue.
Yeah, he's like, it's the last story. It's like everybody gets to fight one good last time. Everybody gets a great new outfit and a superpower.
A cool one-liner.
Yeah, but I'm like, hey, I'm looking at the pages. Like last week's was crazy. Like I just looked good.
Yeah,
like, I was like, fuck.
Like East of West does cold opens. Like you'll get like a 4 or 5 page like scene, and then there's like a title spread with like no art on it. It's just like, you know, East of West, blah blah blah, and then it gets into the story. Yeah. Like even that is hot. Like nobody really does that because that's playing with pace.
Yeah, that's a very, you know, quote unquote TV show thing to do.
Yeah,
and TV shows ain't always do that until recently. Yeah, like we're gonna do we're gonna like start you in, and it's just like, oh, okay, here's the freaking intro thing, or they might not do it at all. I've always had wonderings. It's cool to see like certain things I've always thought about doing happening. Like I love that Trill League is happening because I've always had ideas of stuff like that. Or like, why don't people act like that? I would have all these conversations and like. And to see someone like actively doing it, I don't get jealous. I'm like, fuck yeah. I be throwing my little money in the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I threw some money at Trill League too. Dang, he got double his goal, by the way. I just looked it up.
I'm happy. I'm so happy. Like, I think he can do like 3 issues or something like that, like straight. And I'm glad he blowing up because it's like, that shit to me is hilarious. Like, Black Robin on Instagram talking about my birthday party going to be tight. Like, I was like One Disha, like Black Wonder Woman is kind of ratchet. That's funny. Like, it's cool and it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, we should be able to make fun of our humor and with that ideas of like the Justice League. That'd be funny to me. Like, I find that hilarious.
And there's even just like from an artistic point of view, like his art doesn't really look like comics art. Like he's got like an animation influence or something in there. You know what I mean? Just with like the designs and that kind of thing.
It's interesting to me how many black artists, because most of what they've probably seen is cartoons. Because when the bust of the comic book store happened, all those comic book stores close to the hood went away. Since cartoons are their thing, that's what anime and cartoons are the main influence. And it also makes me sad because I've met so many black artists over the years wanting to break in. They can't break in. They end up in animation. And they end up drawing the same stuff, but they have to make it move, and then they get paid better. So it's funny to see, like, of course they're not going to come back and do comics. They get paid more.
Yeah, if you chase somebody out, like, and then they get on somewhere else, like, they don't owe you anything. Like, you should be coming back on hand and knee, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like, you know, they're dope. Like, they not only did they draw your shit, they drew it moving, and it reached 10 times your audience.
That's what made me so mad about McDuffie at DC is that, like, with the TV show alone, you could tell he knows the Justice League. So really, nobody should have been telling him anything on that book.
Nope.
Like
that bothers me. It's like he drew the Justice League that everyone thinks about as the Justice League now.
Yeah.
Not Super Friends. Not your little idea of what you thought was cool of the Justice League that was cool in 1988 or 1991. No, the one that came on every freaking week on Cartoon Network that sells action figures in Target.
Yeah.
That's the Justice League. And their stories were better. He wrote those stories.
And it's just wild that you would minimize somebody like that. But like we were saying earlier, that it's like inertia in comics. Like that's why it's so hard to get over that hump. Like DC was just doing what DC does. Like they didn't know what they had, which is crazy from the outside. But like, how do you fix an entire company? How do you fix a culture like that?
I think that it's like when you talk about sports, it's the front office, because I'm thinking like Marvel was able to smack the shit out of them, starting behind them all the time. So like DC existed first, Marvel came out in the 60s, smacked the shit out of them. Like DC's owned by Warner Brothers, made movies, some classic joints. Marvel, through some ways of being bankrupt and like figuring out that we gotta do this our shit ourselves, comes out, smacks the shit out of them.
And you know what?
And it's just like,
I would take Blade over pretty much all that first wave of Batman movies except for the first one, because Blade is so hard. Like that movie,
Blade is so goddamn dope.
And then they couldn't make the Blade comic work. Like that's another thing. Like even when Marvel's ahead of the game, like they can't grasp what's right in front of them.
And it's funny. What was real funny, which is, I guess, to start the current trend of my episodes as they are, was to see Ron do a pitch for a Blade comic that's amazing. It go away, to see him just put the images out, and then to see like all the comic book websites talk about like, man, Marvel should make this comic. This should be a pitch. It's like, you motherfuckers don't understand.
Yeah.
This was a pitch. Like, I was talking to him on the phone about the pitch because I was telling him about all the random issues of Blade I read as a kid, so he could craft this pitch that they just did nothing with. And it's just like, they could have their new version of Blade. I don't know why they didn't took it. That's why, like, certain things is like, why do you not put that out? But you put, and this is nothing against Squirrel Girl. Why do you put Squirrel Girl out?
Like what market, what need is it serving?
Yeah, like Blade is Blade. He's a pre-established mainstream awareness. He kills vampires. It's cool. You even have a cool little Japanese accent in it. He is a fucking boken. Like, how can you not sell that? And X, how can a comic book store not sell that? Like, that's a failure. That's like, if I equate this to anything else, any other entertainment medium, the people making it doesn't get hurt. The people in charge get fucked up. Like, if you can't sell a dope ass new album that a person had a bazillion dollars, like if Cash Money couldn't sell Drake After So Far Gone, that's not on Drake.
Yeah,
that's on Cash Money. And it's like, I just got confused. And again, like, I have nothing against Squirrel Girl. I haven't read it. Also, like Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck got a new comic book because he had a cameo at the end of a movie. But you ain't make Blade though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, a duck get on, but the goddamn franchise that got you started in the movie business can't get on.
And I don't
just saying, I don't understand.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I really feel like Marvel and DC made a market for one type of fan, or like a very small number of types of fans, and that's who they're going to cater to.
Yeah, I just feel like that all those type of fans got in the game, and they make what they like, and it just only reaches the people that's like them.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like, there's so much. Like, comics are honestly my favorite medium. Because you can do anything. Like, just from straightforward, like 9-panel grid to like Chiro and Appleseed. Where it's like 16 panels to a page, and by the way, there's not a grid. Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Yeah. And that's what, like, I understand, like, maybe it's not marketable or it might not make economic sense, but you got to have a place for that stuff, because that's what, you know, people remember Man Without Fear and Born Again, not like Daredevil 196. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we just had a show that came on Netflix that is essentially Man Without Fear, adapted from what I can read, damn near close as hell. Like, they're not making all those other random stories, like that random story, like that. Not random, but like some of those stories. Like I didn't hear Typhoid Mary was in the show. They do that Louise Simonson joint, drawn by JR versus Typhoid Mary. Yeah. Nah, not yet. They might, but the first thing they did was that out of the blue, freaking miniseries in the '90s of redoing his origin. It was like out of the blue. We want to act like it wasn't. It was like a random ass miniseries. It was cool. I remember when that shit came out.
Yeah, it was a script that Frank Miller wrote for a movie and then turned it into a comic, which is even weirder. Like, when you look at it from that angle, like, it makes sense why it is what it is then. Yeah,
it started one way, ended up into a comic, then ended back into like some type of live action.
Yeah,
it's just it's funny how the game works.
Yeah.
I just can't help but get to an old enough point. It's just, and I always have this feeling like people probably think that I'm jaded or I'm angry about myself, and like I've gotten over that. Like, I've gotten over the concept of breaking in or being in the comics or doing this thing that, like, I literally dreamed about doing as a kid. My problem just started happening when I've seen more and more people that I feel are better than me get jaded or get kicked around or not appreciated. And I'm like, and some of these people I went to art school with, so it's like, these people have educations in art. Like, they know what they're doing, they're talking about. So, like, how come they're not good? And this guy that just drew all the time, and I, you know, that's when my critical hat comes on. It's just like, that person isn't that great. So why did he get put on? It didn't, like, you know the way the game works. You just, he became friendly with X at these many shows.
Or he can hit deadlines. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. All right. That doesn't seem fair. And, I don't expect capitalism to be fair, but...
But if I could snap my fingers and put everybody on the same playing ground, like where black stories are as valid as white stories, as stories about women, as stories about gay people, and everything was just the same, like you could pitch it the same, I totally would.
Yeah. It's like I almost want it to be, like, sometimes I do want it to be like sports. It's just like, yo, this motherfucker can do the mile in like under 10 seconds. They can do or yo, how did dude do in the Final Four? He getting drafted. Like, I know what I understand that system. Even that system is fucked up. I get it. I don't know what he's explaining to me. Like, okay, they have stats. I see what's happening. All right,
comics is broken in such obvious ways. Like, that you can't help but, like, look at what's wrong and be like, why do we put up with this?
And I get why people leave. Yeah. Or they don't. So they stop trying. They go do something else. And then sometimes you hear fans or other people say, well, they just quit. I'm like, like, at the end of the day, if a person doesn't want you in the house, are you going to continue to ring their doorbell? Or you just going to go someplace where you want it, or go hang out somewhere else?
That's what happened to Christopher Priest. And the Cinti left comics. Devin Grayson was out for a while.
I know. Shit, they wrote some dope ass stories.
Like, as much as I love Frank Miller, like, Anno Cinti writes the best Daredevil. Like, she's the one, like, her and Ramita Jr., like, they killed. Oh my goodness. And it's like, how did they not get another look? Or how did they stop getting looks? Why do you just keep making them like the woman writer or the black writer or the gay writer?
clearly I don't know Christopher Police personally at all. But I wonder if he feels some type of way about this Black Panther thing.
Interesting.
Because I love Jack Kirby all day. They ain't using Jack Kirby's Black Panther.
Yeah.
They're going to use Christopher Police and Reginald Hudlin as Black Panther. And Reginald Hudlin, at least in the Hollywood game, to know how shit works. And got his own hustles. But even still, Reginald Hudlin's coming off with a Christopher Police run of Black Panther where he totally changed the character.
Yeah, 100%.
Completely. Like, it's a different idea of the character once after you read that Marvel Knights comic. It's like everything changes. Like, you can't go back to old Black Panther. And I really think about Wonder Woman. It's like he changed that character. He made that character what it is today. And he ain't getting no check.
Like, hopefully they'll do right by him. Like, Marvel occasionally will do something right in the movies. Like, they credited, I think, Kirby and Guardians, but they gave all the other co-creators, like, special thanks instead of created by credit. Like Jim Starlin and them.
Oh, special thanks. He created Thanos?
Yeah, right.
He literally created Thanos. I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy, so, like I know there was a big deal about the co-creator of Rocket Raccoon getting to see the movie.
Yeah, like he got it created by credit too, I believe.
And I think he maybe was sick at the time. And I was talking about this last night with some friends. It's like, yeah, a credit and seeing a movie early is cool and all, but like, where the cash?
Yeah. Like, at least, like, I love the Hero Initiative, the charity, but it's crazy that has to exist. Like, how are there so many, like, bereft comics creators who made classics, like genuine classics?
It's like, y'all got bread and y'all can't even, when they die, just bless them with some health insurance.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how that's too much to ask. Y'all got money.
That's capitalism.
Like, y'all.
You can only use money to make more money.
It's a damn shame because you see companies that, like, do are worth so much more, do so much better. Like Apple, like y'all kind of good. Y'all ain't making Apple bread. Like, your parent company ain't even making Apple bread.
I saw that Netflix is above like NBC and CBS in those now.
Oh yeah, it's sharing crazy. Like the stock price is sharing.
Yeah,
from what it says. Like, I'm just like, yeah, and I have a feeling like I doubt the people working on those shows are fucked over. Like that. Like, I bet you if they got sick, they could go to the hospital. Like, right now, comic creators is are like the same level of people as like student athletes. They get sick, you show it, son.
Yeah. Oh man, that's something else. Like, I had to stop watching college football behind the NCAA.
Oh, first, as a kid, I didn't fuck with the NCAA to begin with because I'm just like, well, I'm going to watch amateurs, but I watch professionals. Now I'm going to get older. It's just like, yo, y'all make how much on a Final Four?
Like, just even on the schools alone, like Ohio State, I grew up watching them. Like, it's like, my family's from Ohio, my grandparents anyway. So, like, they're the family team. You know what I mean? And they get, like, billions of dollars off sports. And it's a college, like, I was going to go to Ohio State. Tuition was $25,000 for out of state in 2002. So I didn't go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we've got it twisted.
It's kind of like, what are you paying for? Like, you got money. Like, you got money. Like, I don't understand certain things. It's like, with that, I'm like, what I didn't know when I was younger was like, every time I was playing those EA Sports college games, them kids wasn't getting no paper.
Yeah.
When I found out they wasn't getting no paper, it's like, there's one thing to not be paid in college. There's one thing to do this, but to use your likeness
to be
forever?
Exploited throughout. Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that I couldn't have Michael Jordan in the NBA Live for all them years because he was like, no? But you could put everybody else in these college games, and they get nothing from it. I was like, the game is fucked up. And it's like, I feel that way when I read about comics. I feel like the game is fucked up. Like, something has to be better. Because it's not like that in every artistic industry, every creative industry. It's not. Like, I got friends in animation, and they did all right. Mm-hmm. They got houses. They was getting some good. They was eating well. They was doing pretty good. They're not rich, but yo, they ain't struggling either. They ain't putting 2 slices together with mayonnaise.
And all this is basically the same problem. Like everything we've been talking about, it's selfishness on one hand and the culture on the other, because we just roll with what was established before us.
No one shakes it up. No one really shakes it up. Like the last literal shakeup, I guess you could say, was Image, the creation of Image. Yeah,
and we're still feeling shakes from that. Like that's part of why it's like you were saying, it's writer dominated now.
Yeah, it's like the reverse, but it's still a good thing. Like I may not read The Walking Dead nor watch the show, but there's that level of success that Kirkman had is amazing.
It's like,
and he doesn't have to share with any company.
And it's like Kobe when he took that max contract last year. One of the reasons he said, of course, getting like $40 million is great, but he was like, I want to show these kids they should be paid what they're worth. And if you're a superstar, you deserve superstar dollars.
Yeah, like these people are billionaires. Yeah. Like $40 million isn't a lot when you have 10 figures in your bank account.
Like I think the Donald Sterling thing and them being forced to sell the Clippers is going to shake things up a lot because now people know how much the teams are really worth.
Oh yeah, nah. Like now it changes. Like, what do you really feel about us? What do you really think about us? Oh, we thought we really getting money, but nah, you really ain't. You ain't getting money. Like the fact that Michael Jordan owns the friggin' Charlotte Hornets means he's now getting money.
And he turned into the same old dude. Like he turned into an evil owner.
He became that to succeed. Yeah. And it's like, it's fucking sad, but it's just like he's swimming in that pool of sharks. And it's like that shoe money's all right, but it's like, how much is Nike making versus how much you're making? Nike's making what the owners is making.
That's that Jeezy song when he says he takes a Gatorade break and thinks about how much Gatorade makes when he's recording.
Like the capitalist thought, like the fact that I think we have to think about that. And I don't know if everyone thinks about it that way, but this the capitalist idea to constantly have it running through your brain. It's like, like how much are they making off me? Like do they really care about you? Like they get you all hyped up. It's like, we're coming out with this. And then we're going to release X comic. Like, yo, all this shit ain't story. Yeah. Like, if it was just story, it would be one comic. They getting bread while they retool their next shit. Like Convergences is cool and all, but like, it's like that Star Wars trailer. It's nostalgia to make bread off of. Like,
and haven't they already announced the thing after that?
Yeah, they already announced all the new different stuff, and it's like, all right, like, okay, they got Black Robin and a book full of Robins. Like, some of the stuff seems cool, some of the stuff seems the same old. But it's just like, yeah, you're doing 2 months of nostalgia comics about stuff that we liked, and you want to stop printing. But it's also the same with Marvel. It's like Secret Wars. You're making like all these comics that like are big what ifs, but you said this shit ends in January, so like, everybody's getting hyped up. These books ain't probably going to be here after January. There's going to be the new universe is going to be here. Like I can't get hyped up off of business plans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, unless I have equity in it. Like, yo, if I had stocks, like if I was like it's like my same thing with teams. Like, I don't really say I'm a fan of a team or that I follow a team or like I have things. It's like, yo, I would watch football every Sunday if I had equity in a football team. I would run around with everything they got if I know that like every time something is sold, I got to check.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't got it, just like I'll see what I like and I'll move on. Like I don't know if I don't know at a certain point what's being a fan of some of these things are. Like I love the Fast and the Furious. I don't know if I can say I'm a quote unquote fan of the Fast and the Furious.
For me, like I just keep it simple. Like if I like it, I'm a fan. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to wear like a Paul Walker RIP jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I totally get that. Yeah.
But if somebody's like, hey, you want to do that? Like, I was excited for this new one, man. Like, I didn't even watch any trailers. I was just like, I'm going to go in stone cold. It's going to be great. And
yeah, I have to be honest. Like, I fucks with Fast and the Furious. Like, I was live tweeting that goddamn trailer when it came out on YouTube. I was like, oh my God. They crashing cars through buildings and shit in Abu Dhabi.
Like, it's so extra.
Like, and I love it. I love it to death. But I had the bonus. I got to see it for free, so I didn't even have to put no money in it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's just pure enjoyment. But it's just like I'm not going to just openly say like I'm going to really, really ride for them. Like I don't know if they don't really, really ride for me.
No, the next movie could suck.
Yeah, like it's entertainment. It could be garbage.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like I can't. There are things that like shape my personality. Like I like, crime comics and martial arts movies, all this stuff. But it's not like the defining feature of my personality. It's just an aspect. Yeah. And I think when people get too deep, when it becomes like I'm a Green Lantern fan first and foremost, like it's too far. Like it's just comics.
Yeah. Like who are you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what makes you you?
Like, instead of telling me how much you like some dude, like, tell me what you get out of that character. Like, why did you connect so hard?
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't know why. Or they don't get the whys. They don't know how to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I got pretty good at explaining, like, the why. Like,
that's what I tried to.
This is why I like X.
Yeah. Because I've been thinking, like, this past year, it's just been me in the lab, and it's just nobody does anything for no reason, if that makes sense. Like they have a reason in their head that means that it's worthwhile to do, whether that's like liking Fast and the Furious or beating somebody up on the street, and it's figuring out that reason, how that relates to you. Because I like Fast and the Furious because like I'm super down this year. But seeing brown people and their white friend doing amazing things repeatedly, like that is some uplifting shit.
That's some amazing shit to see. So they got a black hacker.
Yeah.
They got Ludacris as a black hacker nerd, and they have a beautiful black hacker woman. Like what?
And it's all like
black people know computers.
Maxim, FHM bodies. It's like a very specific slice of life, but like it's fun to look at.
Money, 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 money ain't the motive. What's your name again? Nobody knows it. Don't speak to me, nigga. You not important. I'm focused. 2, 3, 4. They say I'm nutty, I'm picnic basket, was short of a sandwich and peanut butter. Boy, Swatkins a faggot, please come and get me. Said I suck him at your neck like a hickey. Boy, I'm sickly like an HIV victim. Ain't nobody fucking with me. I got banned from New Zealand. Whitey called me a demon and a terrorist. God damn it, I couldn't believe it. Been a kid from the country, I never fall, never timber. But you fucked up as a parent, your child idol's a nigger. I clearly don't give a fuck, so you can run that shit back and fuck your loud pack and fuck your Snapchat. Cherry Bomb, the greatest fucking album since the days of sound. And that shit gon' pop just like that nigga that was never around. Damn, got to drop, gas him up, thick exhaust. Young T, can't quit, hard to beat, dick is soft.
Yeah, we get to see ourselves. Like, and like things like Empire.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't totally like Empire. But you know what? I see why it's popular. I get why it's popular, and I do think it's kind of needed.
Yeah, it is.
I don't really ride with the people who make it, but
Taraji P. Henson on that show is like, she's basically what I feel like Storm should be in terms of being amazing, because she's like a force of nature. Like that woman is just the bomb. But it's like, think of how rarely you see
nice.
that.
You ain't gonna never see nobody like Cookie in no goddamn comic book, no superhero comic.
I've been watching.
You need a specific voice for that to write that.
I've been looking at A Different World. They put all those up on Netflix, and it's crazy. Just like it's subtly pro-black, like it's just majority black by default. It's like Fast and the Furious, as a matter of fact. And Marissa Tomei is Paul Walker in the first season. And
they're Italian American white friend.
And the whole show is just like black and brown people doing their thing, like being normal, like is what it comes down to, as opposed to fighting racism or some sexist dude street harassing them. Like they just get space to be people.
It's that beautiful thing that we grew up in, of that post civil rights movement, like post 70s, like, knowledge of self, like
post Cosby Show. Really,
it was concurrent, yet it was post. It was younger. It was just like, okay, this is what Denise's generation is about. Mm-hmm. Like this is what black HBCU college is like. And I was like, that show made me go to college. Mm-hmm. And I still sometimes think, like, I went to art school and I had a really good experience. I kind of hung out with a lot of black people. But there's always a part of me was like, maybe I should have went to an HBCU. Yeah,
because they make it look so dope. Even just like the opening credits is just like, how do I get that life?
It's funny being in DC, like Howard's here. Yeah. Like, not only for me, is it on television? Like I seen it. Like it's like
the dream is real.
Or like this shit really like that, or Morgan State. Like all these shits, like that shit is real. Like when my cousins went to like HBCU down south, it's just like it's not that. It's like it's not that crazy. Like I knew I'd be a different person. I probably would have been in a fraternity. Yeah. I probably would have been a Kappa because I fuck with the Canes. like it was like a whole bunch of shit. Like I know, like I was like, oh shit. Like, but I made my decisions. Yeah. I went to art school. I got a different view on things. That weird place of being like the black spot in the white domino. It's like I know what the rich elitist society of art talks about. Yeah. Like I know how they talk and think about things. But, different world, that's, like, as much as I love the Cosby Show, cutting out all that Cosby stuff we learned.
Man. I can't even talk about it.
That show is still important to me, but different world. Like, Dwayne Wayne is my dude. Yeah. like, he's like an unspoken, like, he's like... He went from like student, like he was nerdy, but he was cool. Like he played basketball. He was chilling. He listened to rap music. He you know what I'm saying? He pined for like the best, like the dopest girls, like Denise Huxtable and freaking Whitney Gilbert. like Freddie had a crush on him in the first 2 seasons, and then like Jada Pinkett came in and she had a crush on him when he was the teacher. It's like, damn, Dwayne Wayne is the hero. Like I gotta be that dude. It was like that show just covered everything, like colorism and black history and racism,
even single divorce and single mothers in the first episode.
Oh yeah,
they make fun of what's her name for being divorced. Yeah,
Lisa, because she's divorced. Yeah, and she started college late.
And like that's so real.
It's like damn.
And I think that's, like, we keep circling around the same thing. It's all about, like, having that voice out there. Because somebody in that show had to have been like, what if she was divorced?
Yeah, somebody broke that in there. Like, yeah, let's put this in there. We're like, yeah, that'll work. Let's see how that goes. Yeah. And it's like, that show, I think, the first season is one way because I think Cosby still had a heavy hand in it. And the second season when Debbie Allen came in, it kind of became the showrunner. Mm-hmm. And that's when it really got extra dope. Like, that's when Denise is gone and they brought in, like, all the new characters.
They put Dwayne Wayne and Whitley front and center.
Yeah, and then she got that roommate that wasn't, like, the little nerdy girl. Then they brought in Freddie, and then Walter Oates came in as the RA. All those important pieces started coming in and started dealing with, like, all the issues at the time, and it's still present.
Yeah.
Like, you can still like watch those episodes. You're like, well, shit. We still like shit. Now I'm like older than Walter Oates, and we still dealing with the same shit. Like,
and that's all. Like, you got to have that diversity to survive as a medium, or even just a single, like a show or a character or whatever. Because like if you look at rap music now is completely different from what it was, in the park in the 70s. Because rap ate and absorbed and mutated into all these different things. Like pop music has a strong rap base. EDM, I don't think you get the EDM as it is today without rap. And it's all it stays relevant because it's always looking for the new. And the new is always not what was there before. Like somebody outside of the status quo.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think rap is in this place where I think jazz and rhythm and blues was in, where it could be, where it's at this point where it could be completely co-opted. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like, maybe I think unlike this, is rap is so focused on youth culture and so focused on black youth culture. Mm-hmm. And then like, that's why rap shifts, I think, more like unlike anything else. With like rock and roll, when black people were doing it, was one way, and it stayed that way until it got took, and we made something else. Rap doesn't. They don't, like, young black people didn't go make something else. They changed rap within rap into something else. Yeah. That even the older black people was like, whoa, I don't really. Like, I remember in the early 2000s, there was people like, I don't really fuck with this new rap. And then you get a little bit further down to, like, before Drake comes out, like, I don't really fuck with this rap. And then you got Drake, and then you get to, like, now we got Young Thug, I Love McConan, and all this other shit. They're like, I don't know if I really like this. I'm sitting here like, this shit is awesome. This is how it's going to stay alive.
Like, remember 10 years ago, people were making fun of Kanye for, like, skinny jeans and pink polos. And now you look at Young Thug, who dresses like a Final Fantasy character. And it's like he's still, blooding and whatnot in his videos, and it's accepted. Like, this is the now, basically.
Yeah. And it's, there's rejection of it, of certain things, but you're just like, oh, how old are you? Oh, I'm 29, I'm 32. That's why. Because the kids that's a 21 is cool with Thugger. Mm-hmm. They're cool with I come back to I Love McConan because the way he sings, it's like weird. Yeah. Yet I put it on. I got a coworker. He's like 21. Yeah, I told him, I was like, yo, you got that new I Love McConan mixtape? He's like, yeah, bumping that joint all weekend. I was like, yeah, it's like I'm like the only 35-year-old dude listening to the same shit the 25 and the 21-year-old kids is listening to. Fuck staying behind.
Yeah, like if you stayed behind, like you would look at McConan and be like, he doesn't even look like a singer. Or like a star.
I know.
But he's the real deal.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like Drink More Water 5 came out. Yes. I'm like rubbing my hands together. I'm at work. Like, oh. No ma'am. Like, whip it. Teach you how to whip it. Like, this, he's taking people, teaching them how to make crack. I don't care. It sounds good.
It's funny. We were talking about, like, cultures mixing, and I just opened up Nowrite to see, like, just to see what was up. And there's a Chief Keef and Fredo Santana song called Maybach, but it's got Keef as Ryu and Santana as like a purple Ken. And it's like straight up anime art.
I don't know. Have you been noticing that? Like a lot of covers doing like anime art? Yeah. Or like black Dragon Ball Z characters and shit like that.
Yeah, like low-key super otaku like in jokes.
And I've been noticing more and more references to Dragon Ball Z and raps. Like Super Saiyan, like a lot of
that Frank Ocean album where Pink Matter, where he compares people to Majin Buu.
I still geek out that his album starts up with the PlayStation startup sound and him going into playing Street Fighter. And a lot of people don't know that. It's like, yo, that's the selects for you picking characters in Street Fighter. Like, I fucks with Channel Orange.
That is just, it's so real. And that's something that like only he would do. You know what I mean?
It's just funny like how this stuff goes in and the people don't. And that's why I just like I want to make stuff for them.
Yeah.
I want to make stuff for them because I don't think like they grew up off stuff, and I know they like it. Just they don't see it. Like I know they go to these movies, they gonna go see Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, they're not like Falcon ain't gonna do shit in that movie really.
Because he's not the star. He's not
War Machine.
named Chris.
He's not. He's not on the poster. War Machine. They bust out the scene like War Machine's kind of movie. Like he's gonna be in that movie like 10 minutes out of 2.5 hours. Like he ain't on the poster. Don Cheadle ain't on the poster. Like, ain't no black people. Ain't no Latin people on the poster. Ain't no Asian people on the poster.
And it's like,
it is a green dude and a bunch of white people.
And Cheeto can carry a movie. Like, he's like a real deal actor.
He ain't been Oscar nominated. It's funny to me. They got Oscar nominated actors and that's just sad.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Robert Downey Jr. He got his Oscar nominations and stuff. But like, I love Chris Evans as Captain America. He ain't got an Oscar nomination. Like my man, like Anthony Mackie was in like at the Oscar winning film, like Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Like I think he's been up for at least one, like as a supporting actor. Like he's been in some joints. He was a sidekick, B.
But like, here's my thing. So if mainstream America doesn't read comics, what makes Iron Man more important than the Falcon? Like, why does he get priority if you're not just paying homage to the past? You know what I mean? Because, like, nobody knew about Blade. Blade came out and that was hot.
Fire.
So why can't you pick up, like, the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider instead of, Johnny Blaze in the next movie?
No one can really answer that question. Because, like, the only reason I get why you pick Iron Man now is because Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly.
made you billions of dollars. Other than that, like I people want to make a defense on like why Spider-Man had to be Peter Parker to start it off, and none of the defenses was good. Like it doesn't really like I've got there's 6 movies with them. Like or 5 movies, whatever. There's a bunch of movies with Peter Parker. Like we've seen that.
I did the count. There's been one basically every other year if you average it out since the first movie came out. Or it's like over the last 8 years or something like that. There's been a lot is what it comes down to.
It's like, yeah, you can do Miles Morales. It'll be fine. It's still Spider-Man. He got bit by a spider. He had an uncle. It still works. But nah, it has to be Peter Parker because for some reason...
What's funny, like that conversation trips me out because it can get pretty shallow. People are like, there's no reason Peter Parker has to be white. But I would say that he does because that's an established character. But Spider-Man can be anybody.
Me too. Because he got that mask on.
But like with Peter Parker, like I get a lot out of the fact that he's like a young white dude who lives with his aunt in Queens. Like that's still a valuable story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't suck because he's white. Yeah. But if all we get is white dudes from Queens, then it's like, well, what about G-Rap?
Like this whole story of Queens, like I don't know, all the late 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it's mostly black, black and Latino. Like where's that story? And I just sit back. I just like, yeah, the Spider-Man thing was weird because I agree. Like I don't want them to make Peter Parker.
Yeah, it
black.
would feel like pandering.
Yeah, like that's why I did like Miles Morales because Bendis was like, all right, people wanted Donald Glover to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We could do that. Whole new character, that's to me still his best first arc of a story.
Yeah, that was like thunder and lightning. That was dope.
I was like, when you get to the end with his uncle and it's like, I was like, that is the dopest flip of like the uncle being the reason why Spider-Man is Spider-Man. Like that is the hood version of like, that shit is real as fuck. Cause it's like, he was the cool uncle, but he was cool cause he was doing some dirt to eat. Like, I was like, I like Ghost. That's why I think like Bendis is a special case. He could write a good ass Luke Cage. He could write this Black Spider-Man. I was like,
But it still tricked me out because his dad's name was Jefferson Davis, the leader of the Confederacy. And like, I know he named him after one of his friends or something like that. And like, that's cool.
But he didn't look that up.
It's still weird. And also, I went to Jefferson Davis Middle School, which had me feeling like Huey from the Boondocks.
Some type.
Yeah.
See, stuff I don't know because I grew up in this black community of blackness. It's like I grew up in like like Wakanda or some shit. Like, what are you talking about? Black people are amazing. I love seeing amazing black people.
Yeah.
The Huxtables, people say the people they look like the bullshit. I seen them. Like, I seen black people with money. That shit is amazing.
That's why one of my favorite things recently, something I really get a lot out of, is that Blackout Day, where the first Friday of every month, people on Tumblr and Instagram and Twitter just go wild posting selfies, and it's just like black people being amazing.
Yeah, that's nice. I like when that takes over my feed or Tumblr. It's like, oh, look at all these black people.
And it's not even like I'm pretty confident in my skin and who I am and all that, but it's nice to be reminded that black is beautiful.
Yeah, because sometimes we're really tough.
Yeah, because every other day I'm seeing another dead black man or woman, shot by a cop or some random, hick.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be in where it's like a lot of ways black isn't beautiful, but also all the advertising is pushing toward ethnically ambiguous.
Yeah.
So it's like, like, what is that? What are you saying? That like everybody can look like Puerto Ricans?
Well, it's like Amanda Stenberg said in her video, like, America loves black culture, but not black people. Like, they want the cool, but not everything else.
Yeah, it's weird.
Everybody wants to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Yeah. Oh man, I think I've talked your head off long enough.
Yeah, it's 2.75 hours. Man, it flew by though.
I know. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe when it gets hot, like after, you've been through like 87 cons or something.
After San Diego, when I'm just a husk.
Yeah, where you're like defeated, like that post San Diego, but like pre New York Comic Con insanity ramps up. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's really just like, I feel like we got to talk about this just because a lot of people don't, or they don't do it the right way. And not like that there's a right way to talk about race and stuff. There's definitely a wrong way where it's just like finding the target and hitting them for racism and moving on to the next target. Like, we gotta make sure that the culture's out there too.
Yeah, I've noticed just a certain amount of unhappiness over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And I just decided it's like, shit, why don't I just call some people and talk about it and just put it on the internet? Because nobody else is doing it. Like, at all.
Yeah, especially within comics. Like, I like Black Box, like I like that podcast and a couple others, but like I feel invisible a lot of times.
Podcasting, I feel in some ways, especially in comics podcasting, got very, what I feel, uber fanish, less critical about things. And again, we started to become really white. And with comic, that's why I ended up moving more to listening to hip hop podcasts, because not only do they give me these interviews with people and you get to learn this history directly from the source, but it's just an interesting voice to hear, like Gen X black people and sometimes and younger, like our generation of black people, just talking about our culture and like a historical presence, because like we're probably the only generations able to do that.
Like on that level,
we can say it and put it out ourselves, and it can be kept for like eternity. And I really think that a lot of people don't understand why people of color are angry or females. And I need to talk to some more females in comics as much as I talk to males.
Yeah, you got to get Cheryl Lynn on here.
Yeah, I really do. Just to get this. I think if people can hear it, they will understand more. They may not agree, but I think enough people don't know it even is a problem.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff in our cultures that we don't share.
Yeah,
like,
or they feel alone. Yeah. They feel alone.
Or even something like mental illness or mental health in the Black community is treated one way, or just anything really where it's like inside as opposed to outside. Like if we don't share that stuff, then we're never going to find common ground because like we're starting off unequal anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just code switching alone, like explaining that or colorism to somebody and they're like, oh, I had no idea it was like that.
Yeah. Code switching is like a ginormous thing. You know, I have a whiteboard at work in which all I do is write down slang with definitions.
Nice.
Like it's just there. It's just most recent one was trap. What is the trap?
Wow.
What is trapping? What is the trap house? What is a band? What is a bando? Like all that shit is up there.
And those are all things that like probably for you too. Like I've known that since I was a kid.
Like the first time I heard trap was on the Outkast
album.
That
Spodiody Dopalicious? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's clearly that is Black Atlanta culture. Mm-hmm. We're not at a point where it's accepted to be that is what we call a dope house now. Okay. It's a lovely play on words. It's lovely that what it is, the drug game is a trap. Like you can't make money because you can't get a job, so you sell drugs. You get arrested, then you can't get a job, so you end up selling more drugs. It's a beautiful play. Like, it's like, yeah, they don't, like white suburban people don't know what that means. They don't know what that is. And I have a feeling like their kids listen to music with it in it.
But they don't get the context of it.
They don't get the context, and like I might use it conversationally. So you know what I want to do? I'm going to take a white marker. And I want to explain to you what the fuck this means. I want to explain what thought means when it pops up on your television for no reason. I want to explain twerk or the history of where twerking comes from. Like, yeah, sex culture. It comes from strip clubs and gentlemen's clubs and booty shaking, and it goes back further than that. But it's fun. But I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I feel some type of way. Because, like, Black people come down, they see it, they laugh, like, wow. Like, older Black people's like, oh, thanks. But then it's like most of the people I work with in IT, I think against them, it's a lot of white people. So, that's life.
Yeah, that's the funny part. Like, all this stuff is just stuff we got to deal with. Like, be it code switching or trying to decide if you can snap on somebody and still come out like a hero or whatever.
Like, yeah, I don't even do jokes no more. It's like they ain't ready for that. Like, you shoot shots, they take it some type of way. You call them on shooting shots, they take it some type of way. It's like, yeah, you dissing that. That's just funny.
Yeah, even with that whacker thing, part of the reason it got so bad is I had done that Jay-Z quote, like the one hot album every 10-year average. But I put issue instead of album. And to me, it just means
they won't get the context.
Yeah. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's funny because like if they keep putting in like these fill-in artists who weren't great, then you're gonna get one hot issues every 10. Like that's how it works. But to him, he was like, oh, he's saying that this book sucks.
It's like, hey, you don't like, because no, they don't get it. They didn't listen to the takeover. They don't understand they don't understand the rap historical significance of the takeover and the summer jams.
And like I learned so much from that, just in terms of what I can get away with and what I can't. Because like I definitely backed off a little bit on the rap jokes after that one.
Your rap jokes got to be like 87 to 80, like 80 to 87, like anything.
Maybe a little modern Jay-Z or Kanye if I can cheat a little bit. Or croissants joke.
I don't even like to talk about Kanye no more with a lot of people.
He's so polarizing.
Black or white, he's so polarizing in everything he's saying.
Yeah.
he doesn't always word it correctly, but it's like,
I think he's much better in a song than he is in an interview a lot of times.
Yes. But it's like a lot of the issues we're talking about with comics, he's literally talking about it within like fashion or the design world. And a lot of people think he's bugging because they have no idea about the design world or the fashion world because they just don't know it. They kind of see it in a magazine, they keep it moving, or they buy their clothes at TJ Maxx and they keep it moving. But they don't understand like how white and how rich this is. So like when he says like, I don't agree with him about it being a class issue more than a race issue, at a certain point, like, it is a class issue, but it's the fact that most people of color are put in the lower class. Is that like your message is like you're taking out a key component, but I completely understand what you're talking about on a worldwide scale because there's so many poor people and there's so few super rich people that in a certain way they look on everybody like niggas.
Yeah. And that's the thing where it's like, you were talking about how Ron had like that Blade pitch. Like after the Yeezys came out from Nike, they wouldn't return his phone calls. He just sold millions of dollars of sneakers.
That shit.
Like I feel like it's
That
similar
shit
where
pisses
somebody
me off.
proves that they have like what's going on. Like they prove they have something, but then like you just miss it because that's not how you do business.
It's like they didn't want to be told that the way they were doing things was no longer the correct way. Like you don't have a Michael Jordan anymore. You're selling the past. You're selling nostalgia to kids. And as much as you want LeBron to be that, he's not. As much as you want Kobe to be that, he's not. As much as you want Kevin Durant to be that, who sells a good ass shoe. But Kanye sold more than Jordan. That says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they fucked him over. And it's just like, it bothered me because the way they released those Red October, because I was going to buy a pair, and I was going to buy them, I was going to wear it to cons and just stunt on everybody. But they released it, I was like looking at an apartment, and they just did it off the sneak, and they ain't selling nobody nothing, and it just went out. And I was like I had the 235. I was like, I would have bought two pair. Just to stunt on people. Just to stunt. Not to settle the flip, just to stunt on people.
I'm waiting for those low top Yeezys to come out from Adidas this year.
So those low tops look so much better than the high tops. They look so
like
cold.
New York Comic Con, man, it'd be on.
People don't even understand. They don't understand. But yeah, like Kanye is such a divisive personality. It's like everything he says, things he do. And since we're still talking, the things he does in regards to talking about the natures of awards and what's actually good, and them picking things over other things when everyone knows, all the peers know what's actually the best, but they pick X for some other reason other than it being the best, is also my same issue with comics. When someone does some fuckboy shit and another creator comes in and checks them publicly, but the person who checks them is now the villain.
Because there's it's like that code of silence, like the blue wall, where it's like we're colleagues, like we got to be on the same team, and it's like no, we're not. Like we just do the same job. Like that doesn't mean that we're friends or partners or that I co-sign anything that you do.
Yeah, like we're in the same industry. That's it. Like I don't see Pepsi fucking patting Coca-Cola on the back every time they do something. Nah, like that's not how this works. Like when Robbie Rodriguez came out against the Frank Cho joint, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yes, that's your shit. How, like, he even asked you permission. Like, and then people was like, well, he doesn't really own the character, like, whatever. Like, Spider-Gwen, him and old boy made that up.
Jason Latour.
They made that up. They put it out there. It got hot. It's on them. That's their shit. I don't even know what type of contract they got with Marvel or some shit like that. They might have some nice little Rob Liefeld deal. They might get a little percentage of something if they use that. Who the fuck knows? We don't know. But in the end, that shit is living off his name. Him and Lanter's name. That's their shit. And they want to portray the character that way because it's their shit. That's their work. So Frank Cho got to come around and change it up. Like he can do whatever he want. He ain't even drawing comics right now. He's just doing sketch covers and charging $800 for them. Nah, see, and people took it the wrong way. Like, dude was going to run up and punch Frank Cho in the face. He's not going to do that. But if he gave him a stern talking to in the con, he has the right to.
Yeah, and I think that's what we miss a lot is that public conversation. That's one thing that's good about rap is that as much as so much of the beef is nonsense, like people will still get into it and have their whole argument in public, and everybody will be better for it.
Yeah, like Young Thug was going to call his mixtape The Carter 6. That was fucked up. And Lil Wayne was like, yo, that's fucked up. I don't fuck with that. Change that shit. That's whack. Like, yeah, like, that's what it's about.
Though it's funny when Weezy put out 500 Degrees back in the day. Basically the same thing.
True. But at least they was on the same label and was friends. At least they was Hot Boys. Young Thug just came out of nowhere with that shit. It's like if Juvie wanted to come out against him, he would be valid. And everybody be like, all right, word, that works. But in comics, you say some shit like, you the bad guy. Because these guys are masters. I'm like, y'all throw around masters too much. Y'all don't walk around the art world enough to be talking about who is and ain't a master. Like, if you ain't seen a painting go for like 6 figures, I don't know if you know about this art life for real, for real. Like, I spent the last year going to nothing but like art shows every goddamn weekend. Like, I've seen some shit go for like what people make a year. And like people, that's bothers me too. People want to talk about art like they really know what the fuck they talking about. And like, you don't know shit about capital A art. You like comic books. You enjoy comic books. At most, you can talk about comic book illustration. You can't even talk about illustration as a whole.
Yeah, that's a really specific thing, yeah.
And it's like, y'all don't even talk about comic strip artists. Like, I think we thought our masters, Gary Trudeau is a master. He did Doonesbury for like 40 goddamn years. The same shit. And it was dope. He wrote it himself. Bill Watterson's a master. Y'all don't be bigging him up. And these are people that like walk away or openly challenge their industries. Bill Watterson's like, I ain't fucking with this.
Yeah, he's not into the franchising.
Yeah, Trudeau stay shooting shots at people. Like, he just had that nice fucking speech calling out the Charlie Hebdo shit. Like,
oh, really?
And that shit was wrong. Oh yeah, he was like, yeah, I'll send it to you.
I got to read that.
It's well written. Like, what they was doing was fucked up. Like, not endorsing them getting shot or being dying, but it's not saying that, like, what they did was great. Like, what they were, it wasn't satire anymore. And like, I was like, yeah, like, people, that bothers me. It's funny because like every time I see a meme or some shit, especially from a geek talking about Kanye, I was like, you probably don't even listen to his music. You don't know he's great because you have no idea what he's done already. You don't know he has 21 Grammys, and he'll probably get 2 or 3 more next year, maybe even 4 more because he's producing Rihanna's album, he's producing this person's album, and he's working with Sir Paul McCartney. You think you know more than Sir Paul McCartney? I don't think so. He fucks with Kanye. At a certain point, who gives a fuck what you know? Like he's already changed music a bunch of times already. Like, to say he doesn't do anything great. I'm like, you fucking, like, who are you? Like, you read Green Lantern. Yet you're talking about what's great in music. Yeah, you're mad he didn't even stop Beck. He just kind of jokingly walked up.
Like, he did what everybody expected him to do and then didn't, like, do the full thing. Because it's a punchline. Yeah. Like, he knows it's a punchline, and he was aware of that. So, like, he's not an idiot either, the way people like to talk.
Yeah, like, he's, like, it's like, that's, like, I have a lot of issues with, like, I don't always agree with how he says things, but I see Kanye, he's, like, a working class, you know, which is black middle class black dude from, like, the kind of suburb area with like educated parents. He decided to drop out of school. He got some college in. He got decent grades, and he made something else. And he's stupid. Like he fit. No, he's not.
Yeah.
He just does. He says things at times you don't feel is appropriate, but these things might not be appropriate as it is. These places, and he lives what he stands for. Like
he gives away awards.
He's giving up awards. Like a lot of these people ride for people who don't stand for shit. Like at least he stands for something. Like he fucks with his daughter. Like he cares about making uniforms for like urban Chicago schools. Y'all don't give a fuck about them poor ass public schools. He seems to care. He gives money to them.
I'm in the same boat with you where I don't always agree, but I'm trying to get to that same point where it's like I can put passion into action.
Yeah. And it's like if I had a bunch of people putting cameras in my face, I would wild out too.
Yeah.
If I feel some type of way when people randomly walk up to me for some shit I said on Twitter or like a podcast I was on. I feel some type of way then.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know how I would deal with the level of shit.
No, I could never be famous.
And the hate he gets because of some shit he said when he was drunk off half a bottle of Hennessy and ran up on Taylor Swift to say some shit that everybody fucking knew. But like, nah. Like, if she got over it, y'all need to get the fuck over it.
Oh, man. We could talk about Kanye all day, though.
Y'all, he fits his place.
Yeah.
Like, he is important. He's important because of what he brings. He's like the modern issue of like black males in society. Like, he fits a lot of it, especially in those circles where you're not supposed to say nothing, or you're not supposed to rock the boat. That creative circles, like, yeah, I fucks with Kanye.
Man, oh man. All right, man.
All right, man. You hold it down up there. You have a good afternoon out there in Oakland.
Yeah,
man.
you too, man.
And I'll definitely talk to you on Twitter.
We'll have to do this again in a couple months. Another State of the Union.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like around August or something.
Hopefully the police brutality chills out some so we can have some fun.
But I hope it does. I hope things make some changes, but I don't know, man. I feel it's going to be a hot summer.
I feel like we need like a chill summer, just like tank tops and flip-flop summer, but we'll see.
Might be a do the right thing summer. I don't know.
All's my life I has to fight, nigga.
All right, man. Peace.
All's my life, hard times like, bad trips like, Nazareth, I'm fucked up, homie, you fucked up, but if God got us, then we gon' be alright.
Nigga, we gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright.
And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Bahamas, I be looking at you from the face down. 1 Mac 11, even boom with the bass down. Skimming, and let me tell you about my life. Painkillers only put me in the twilight. With pretty pussy and Benjamin is the highlight. I tell my mama I love her, but this what I like. Lord knows, 20 of them in my Chevy. Tell them all to come and get me, reaping everything I sow. So my karma come in heaven, no preliminary hearings on my record. I'm a motherfucking gangster in silence for the record. Tell the world I know it's too late. Boys and girls, I think I've gone crazy. Trying to side my face this all day. Won't you please believe when I say, when you know we've been hurt, been down before. Nigga, when our pride was low, looking at the world like, where do we go? Nigga, and we hate po-po, when the killer's dead in the street for sure. Nigga, I'm at the preacher's door, my knees getting weak and my gun